Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge. They don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like. Wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifted. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. I hope you guys are having a fantabulous day. If you are new here, because we did get a lot of new subscribers this week, welcome. And to all of those that have let me know in the comments that they are new subscribers, make sure that you engage in the chat if you are back today and acknowledge that you are a new subscriber and welcome. If you've been here before, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you for all of the contributions to the platform. We cannot do it, obviously, without you. And one way that you can also contribute to the platform is to make sure you hit that like button on your way in and also consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell so you'll never miss out when we go live, or if we just so happen to upload videos, or even if you are a member, if we go live in the membership only. So you guys know what we're here for. We have the transcripts for the Sean Diddy Love Combs trial. And some people have touted this trial as being the trial of the century. And it's gotten a lot of national attention. And it's there's really people like in line probably right now so they can get a seat tomorrow in the courtroom. Because from my understanding, they have a whole section, I guess, aside for the reporters. Then, of course, they got the front portion for the family, and then maybe 15, 16 people for the public. And there are people that will be outside in the rain with their umbrellas, raincoats, and rubber duckies, and they are waiting so they get into this trial. That's how serious this trial is for a lot of people. So it ain't that deep for us over here. You know what I'm saying? I might slide on through there, in a few weeks if I have some time. But what we do have is the transcript. Now, Inner City Press, I'm going to always plug and shout them out. They are a journalist outlet that is allowed to have their phone in the courtroom. So they've been tweeting out. So what you will see is a lot of content creators that are able to do content and do blow by blows based on their Twitter feed. We've also, even prior to the trial, when there were hearings, that's what we did as well. We were the ones that went on Twitter, got it from that, from Inner City Press, and we still may do that on some days. However, we also have gotten the transcript. So we did a 5-hour live a couple of days ago, of which we went over the entire transcript, the cross-examination of Cassie Ventura. And yesterday we finished the other part of her cross. And so today we're going to go over the redirect from the AUSA, and then also we'll go over the recross, and hopefully we get into Don Richard. But in between there was an agent who conducted the arrest. I don't know if I'm going to go over that part. That might be something I just do in the membership for those that are interested in that. But I do want us to conclude the testimony via transcript from Cassie Ventura. So that's where we are today. That is the order of the service that we plan on doing. So let me speak to a couple of y'all. Hey, Keita, good to see you. Wayne 704, Blue Sapphire, Miss HLS. Good to see you, Lachey and Sandra and Blue Bear, a sister from New Jersey. God did it. Kiki Sassy, Angie, and Jackson Tobacco. Good to see you. Yeah. Detroit versus everybody, Lachey. Shout out to Tommy, who is the one that came out with the Detroit versus everybody. Yes, that is a Detroit original, even though a lot of places have their city versus everybody, but he owns it all, okay? So he gets a nice pretty coin if you put Honolulu versus everybody. Tommy is still getting paid, okay? But yeah, so I hope you guys are enjoying the content. I know some of you guys are probably sick of Diddy already, but we just getting started. So this week coming up is going to be week 3 of the trial. Week 1 was jury selection. Week 2, which was last week, what we're going over with the transcript is actual testimony. So this is the second week of testimony, although it is the third week of trial. So I was over there on Twitter, not Twitter, on TikTok, and I was just scrolling and scrolling. And do you guys know how many times I heard my voice over on TikTok? So apparently, what some people are doing is they are taking my videos and they are just playing it over on TikTok because I'm reading these transcripts. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that yet. I had a couple of people that told me what I should do, but I'm just gonna need y'all to at least give me credit of where you got it from. you know at least give me credit so that people can come over here, of which we are the ones over here, and I say we because you guys contribute and support the platform, that have financially paid for these transcripts. Okay, so I'm gonna need you guys to do better. Okay, that's all, because it's crazy to me. I'm like, is that me talking? So we just gonna act like this our content? This is what we do over there on TikTok? But anyway, thank you for being a member for 13 months. I appreciate that. You said strike. See, I try not to mess with people's money, but I just need people to do better. At least I'm glad, little Miss Introvert, that your notification, kicked in. At least give a sister some credit. That's all I'm saying. Like, we putting in the work over here. We're doing what we got to do to get the documents and the stuff that we need, and to represent as if it's yours is just crazy to me. Okay, it's just crazy. And the thing is, when I first started, it was very interesting because when I first started, and maybe because it was the lawyer part of it, and maybe people think I'm not on TikTok because I don't go over there and post as much, but I'm actually on TikTok strolling quite often. That I used to get emails and people used to ask me, like, hey, can I use your content? And I don't care, as long as you're not like, I think it's not right, like if I'm live and you're streaming it at the same time, because basically you're taking away from my audience when you do that. But if you ask me, I'm not going to tell you no. I'm just not that person. If it's clips of what I said and you think that it's going to educate your platform and you have your own commentary, I don't really care like that. But when you just kind of pass it off as if it's yours without giving credit, it's a problem for me. You said not only are you on TikTok, but so is my baby sis. She on TikTok too. You see me over there, Jay? You see me? Because I was just scrolling and I don't even know what the platform is, because that's how much I just was not paying attention. I was just scrolling like, dang, that sounds like me. Wait a minute, let me back it up. But yeah. So anyway, you guys, hopefully you guys get the notification. You guys know I usually don't come on Saturdays and Sundays, but what I didn't want to do is spill over this week with more testimony from last week. We want to wrap it up on today. And then I'll probably maybe get 1 or 2 transcripts this week. but I definitely am not about to be doing 5 hours a day. Okay. I'm not going to be able to do it, but I may go live and do the tweet situation again, and then we can have the discussion. So we may do that, but we shall see. We shall see. Patty Patty said, Pam, they be waiting for you to end your live so they can use your content. And it's probably people I've never seen. Like, at least contribute in the chat. Say, hey, what's up? I like your content. You got good content or whatever. Give somebody their props. It's just unethical. It's just so much. It's just all about like the Hunger Games. We just want to have the content. We just want to be able to, get numbers on our platform. And it's not fair to those that actually put in the work. So I'm glad you got the notification. Yes, Aubrey. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So what ended up happening is I want to say Aubrey may have posted when she arrived in New York. And what I think happened is people assumed because we knew Don Richard arrived in New York. So I think what was assumed was that she was there to testify. Well, in actuality, if you go to her Instagram, she was on podcast. I don't know if she has her own podcast, but she was on there with she was on the podcast. Remember those two that was like, were they on Good Morning America or something? They were cheating on their spouses. Like he was cheating on his wife and she was cheating on her husband and with each other. And they left or got fired or whatever, all the drama that was over there. They have a podcast. And so she was on their podcast and she was speaking. And it's interesting because she's done a couple of podcasts. And one of the clips that I saw, she wasn't even bashing Diddy. Like Aubrey was not bashing Diddy. She was saying that Diddy told her that she was talented in that clip before he basically told her to kick rocks from Danity Kane. He told her she was talented. He said it's true. She said it's true. And she also was saying that like she was like kind of praising him. It was weird because we've never seen her do that. She been kicking his back in since she left every chance she got. But so I don't know. I haven't watched the entirety, but she was on there with Aaron Spelling from 90210 and that franchise. She has a podcast as well. So Aubrey was on there. So it's all these different podcasts that have been coming down my timeline on TikTok. So she seems like she's on there and almost doing maybe her own commentary on the trial. I don't know. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. So DMV 703. I'd like to take this time to thank you for being a member for a year. Happy intellectiversary to you. Okay. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. And all right, y'all, because we'll be here. Did we have any loose ends before we get back to the transcript? Mm-mm-mm. I can't remember. Cynthia said, wow, Aubrey has always had some very interesting things to say about Puff. I thought she would have spoken her piece in court. Her mom is reportedly attorney. She may not have been subpoenaed. You know what I'm saying? I think there was an assumption because she was in New York. LB Shore claims he was subpoenaed. We don't know if anybody's calling him. I don't know. But definitely the defense, as they should, they're trying to limit testimony to people that are just coming after. And I heard people say, but they're going to talk, that's to his character. No, that you can't do it based on character. That's inadmissible unless the defense opens up the door for his character. So people getting on there like they're character witnesses on who he is and what it is. No, I think Don Richard is saying they're trying to prove the coercive part of this RICO and these other charges that he has. And the underlying predicate acts are actually also individual charges. And so I think they're trying to prove that. And so they're trying to get people on there to show that he used force and violence for people to comply. or for people to be quiet or people to participate in this criminal activity. And so they're using the people that they can. But if you're a wild card and you're somebody that may, to me, Don Richard has said a lot of nice things about Diddy. So we'll get into that. And she's worked with Diddy as recently as his last album. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they cross her. That I think I do want to get the transcript because I'm very interested to see how they maneuver that when it comes to her. So yeah. Queen B said, wait a minute. You said they didn't subpoena anybody that was out here running their mouth. Well, I wouldn't say that because it seems like they subpoenaed the people that were in these lawsuits, right? We know Cassie started it out with the lawsuit. Don Richard filed a lawsuit against them. So if you have a lawsuit against them, then you're not 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get on the stand and say things that's adverse to your lawsuit. So you're not going to all of a sudden turn around and make him to be a monster, then get on the stand and say, "Oh no, well, he was a great mentor and just a wonderful guy. These were just spurts, he would just get mad every now and then." Like it wasn't, I don't think that's what they're doing. They're trying to be very careful and methodical, obviously, on who they call. Aubrey O'Day, obviously, she didn't file a lawsuit. Um, Very interesting. Some of the videos that's out there have been very interesting. Some of the resurfaced clips, like you have the Gina, who was the girl that was basically in half of the relationship with Cassie. Gina was on Tasha K a couple of years ago. And so that clip has been going around, and Gina basically said that Cassie warned her. Like, well, Cassie told her she should leave him alone, like called her and was like she should leave him alone. And that was like 4 months in. And Gina was basically saying he loved bombed her and everything was great for 3-4 months. And then he started being mean and was degrading her. And she said like she had bad acne. And he told her, "I don't mess with girls with acne." And he was always comparing her to like Cassie and other women. That's the one that got pregnant and allegedly got pregnant. And he told her to get an abortion and offer her $50,000 if she got an abortion. But even though she was warned, and I guess she knew, she said he was only nice to her the first 4 months. He love bombed her. She stayed with him for like 4 years. Because remember, that was part of why Cassie finally left him, was because she found out that he was still dealing with her when he promised her that he wasn't anymore. So, okay, Miss Buckeye, thank you though. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Um, Hey, happy Sunday, Aja. Good to see you. Yeah, so all right, let's pull up this transcript. As you guys come in, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. It's probably moving a little slow this Sunday, but you know, let's see. I think that's it. Let's see. Bam, here we are. So what happened with the video we did yesterday? We went over the transcript, and in that we also, during that video, if you want to go, we went over the indictment again, and people asked questions about what is a RICO, what do they have to prove, and we kind of went over that type of stuff as well. If you want to look in that video and get that information of how the government is basically trying to tie it together, they are making the majority of their underlying predicate acts are the ex trafficking and prostitution, and those are also separate counts, and how they're trying to tie the coercion in. We went over the definition of coercion pursuant to statute. And also, you guys have to remember that words that are used from the legal standpoint are not always our everyday words of what our definition is. So when you say pattern, we'll look at like a real pattern. 1 2 1 2 1 2, like that's what we'll think is pattern, but pattern means something different. When you look at of course some words do coincide with your everyday English dictionary, but there are a lot of words that mean something different. And this is why we as attorneys, we argue a lot in court, because if it's not defined in statute, if it can be defined in various ways. If I look at it this way and they can look at it this way, then I can appeal it. And as long as it hasn't already been determined, I may be making law with my appellate brief that I file in my appellate argument, and an opinion goes out there and it gets published, and it may define something, or it may eliminate something and say that that's not what a RICO is. So, what the problem that we have with RICO is that, as you guys know, a very small percentage of cases go to trial in federal court. So, what that means is that it's not much law when on a lot of these on a lot of these type charges, because nobody's trying to go to trial on it anyway. So I surmise if he's found guilty of anything, he'll probably be appealing it. And then we'll see like what they're arguing, and if it creates more law, more clarification to kind of narrow in what is a RICO and how you can use the racketeering statute. And he's with conspiracy to racketeering is what his charge is, which is, we went over all the elements of racketeering in general, but racketeering conspiracy is a little less stringent. So that may be why the government used it. I believe their elements may be 3 elements instead of 5 or 6. So, but again, once the jury instructions come out, then I think if we get our hands on there, then you'll get a better idea of what does the government really have to prove, because it's broken down in layman's terms, and to see do the facts fit every element, and they have to fit every element. So if they feel like there's no enterprise, then there's no RICO. If they feel like in prostitution there's no going across state lines or whatever, then there's no prostitution. You have to be able to prove every single element. So that's going to be what the government's burden is. But anyway, let's go on. Again, this is only the first week. So I'm not what I'm going to say, because people like, what do you think so far? As he sits there today, he is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Based on what we have already, I don't see guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in the first week, but that's only the first week. It's going to be like a tennis match. I'm going to say the government got this one probably on a couple of days next week. We don't know who their witnesses are. That's going to say, oh, yeah, he made me work and didn't pay me, or we don't know what the witnesses are going to say. We only know Cassie is one of the main witnesses, because her lawsuit is the one that precipitated a lot of this stuff, like started all this stuff to happen. So that's all we know so far. And it's gonna be like a tennis match. It's gonna be back and forth, back and forth. So I don't think, until everything is wrapped up, I just don't think we really have a clear picture. I do believe that people just don't like Diddy, and if they look at that video and they just want him to be in prison, then that's just going to be, they're not going to see anything else. We see that a lot, especially on YouTube. Somebody don't like you, they want to believe everything bad about you. That's just kind of the humanistic nature. So what the defense has to do is teach the jury how you're supposed to analyze. Listen, if this could have two different, if you can look at Cassie's testimony and say, well, that seems consensual, but on the other hand, it seemed like it may not have been consensual, and you as jurors get two different where it can be either way, that's reasonable doubt. So you got to try to teach them on, this isn't an emotional or personal thing. This is, you stick to the statute and stick to the law, and we'll see how it goes. But again, it's just the first week. So I'm not going to say like, oh, he about to get off or he's going to be found guilty, because it's just the first week. So yeah. Starfish said word on the YouTube streets is that Diddy was mad at Cassie after Cassie testified and was berating his defense team. Why would you say that? Did they say what the reasons were, Starfish and Coffee? Did they say why? Seabreeze said, but if someone is drugged during a particular event, can you consent? What do you mean they're drugged? The testimony that we heard is that they like to, he didn't even want to use drugs. He was trying not to use ketamine. So ketamine and MD, whatever, I don't know the drugs, excuse me, and like ecstasy are all sexually enhancing drugs. She was already addicted to opiates, so that was probably an everyday thing that she did. However, she got drug. They would text and set up, I guess, these freak offs while they were sober. Then they would do the drugs as an enhancing way, I guess, to enhance to her on her side. She said it would numb her, give her the courage, like some people that drink that are strippers. It gave her the courage to do that. Would you say that that's them being drugged? Or did they just take drugs right before it happened, or whatever? Because if you're dressed in lingerie and you're preparing for it, then you take the drugs so you can get through it. Is that you being drugged? And that's what I think he was going around, is they're like, he drugged people. You know, we know in some of these lawsuits they're saying that he laced drinks with drugs. That wasn't her testimony. She said, I'm talking about just Cassie. She said that she took it, and it was times that she was on drugs herself, so she had access, and they had texts of which she tried to get the drugs on her own. Now, what I think people are doing is they are conflating like these alleged parties that they are saying, of which women were there, and they're saying their drinks were laced with drugs, and then they fell out somewhere, and next thing you know, Diddy or whoever was allegedly taking advantage of them. Those are two different situations. We have not heard testimony about that yet. We've only heard Cassie's experience. This is why I'm saying, so this comment to me seems more based on what you've heard, which is hearsay on the internet, as opposed to testimony that is under oath. We have not heard that yet. Okay? Those are two different things. Cassie did not testify to that. Now, lawsuits for sure were alleging that they took a drink, and next thing you know, similar like Bill Cosby with the Quaaludes. That's what they're alleging in the lawsuits. We have not yet heard testimony of that caliber yet. Please, please hit the thumbs up. You said, or if you consent for one act, use drugs, and then something else took place. They both are unstable. And truthfully, Diddy may walk from this, but karma comes in all different forms. I don't know. You know, people say Diddy got away. Allegedly, they think he got away with the Shine incident. The young lady, just Dateline did a story, and the lady that says she got powed in the face at the club, she says she seen Diddy and she seen Shine pull the pow out, and that's why Shine was upset. See, people, even that situation, I think people don't know what's up. They say Shine took the fall for Diddy. They both, Shine has admitted he was basically packing as well. The jury had to decide which one actually powed the lady. She alleges, I guess, that it was Diddy, but there were other witnesses that were pointing to Shine. So Shine, I think, was more upset because he felt like they had a plan where they were going to say self-defense, and then they both could have got off. But his defense team, remember, Diddy had Johnny Cochran back then too in 99. So that defense team was like, nah, we here to represent you. We co-defendants, but we ain't co-defense teams. And so if there's somebody that's gonna point it at Shine, then we gonna put them on the stand to try to exonerate you. Because probably in the jury's mind, it wasn't two people, even if they had guns, there weren't two people whose bullets, hit the lady. It probably was, one person who did it. So again, I haven't totally dived into that case, but I have seen that people are making it seem like Diddy took the rap. I mean that Shine took the rap for Diddy, but they were both on trial. Diddy was just found not guilty. And see, one of the things that happens is when you get away with certain things, and I'm not saying yay or nay, because he was found not guilty, so he was acquitted by a jury of his peers. But when you have situation after situation after situation and you get off, you kind of be feeling like Teflon Don. And so you push it a little further. You know, you give somebody an inch, they take a mile, and you push it a little bit further. And that may have just what been going on with him. It may have been people, women that wanted to file, like they did police reports. They said that came up missing. They alleged that as well. Are there going to be people that testify? We filled out a police report because he did A, B, C, D, and E to me, and nothing happened with it. Are there going to be ex NYPD people that they know that were allegedly involved? I just don't understand how Diddy is sitting at that table by himself, because it seems like it should be some codies if all this stuff was going on. But nonetheless, they are saying he is the leader of this criminal enterprise, and that is where the RICO comes from. So Wayne said he is smart to let people do what they want and keep his hands clean, i.e., Shine shooting and Cassie paying the escorts with her money and credit cards. Um, some people say it's conniving. You know what? Some people say it's cunning to do that. That means you're always thinking about the future to make sure that there's no traces back to you. And that's why the RICO statute was invented, right? Because what was happening was you had these mob bosses and they never did it themselves. They always hired other people to do their dirty work. So they could never get the actual mob bosses. So when you do the RICO statute, it means anybody within your enterprise, you can take the fall for. So when you look at like YSL and you had two people were accused of unaliving somebody, the whole enterprise is going to be accused of unaliving someone. So even if you weren't there, you're going to be considered a part of it, because this is a part of the whole enterprise. So what you're saying right now is exactly why they would bring RICO, because what they are alleging is that you had other people do the work for you. So yeah. Could the escort sue Cassie? I'm sure they probably could. And we know that she got a couple of dollars. If they feel like they have a reason to sue her, they could. Why not? They suing Diddy. I'm not understanding why he's at the way this is being presented thus far. I'm not understanding why, unless everybody is just so under a spell that they just couldn't say no. I don't know. And then again, the government does not have to indict anybody else with them. You could be an unindicted co-conspirator. That happens a lot as well. That's a lot. Yeah, that lady's been going around for a long time, since the 90s, since the late 90s, saying that it was Diddy in that situation, but he was acquitted. Yeah, anybody can sue anybody. DC Lively said, what basis would the escorts have to sue Cassie? I don't know. Maybe it's part of the basis. Maybe that what she's saying about Diddy and how it affected her. I don't know. I have no clue. Shine stated in his documentary that he did take the fall for Diddy. The only way Shine can believe that is if he believes that he should have took the stand and just pointed the finger at Diddy. But they both were there. They both allegedly had weapons. They both went to trial for it because they both were arrested. Remember, this is a time when he was with J-Lo. Then there was also a driver who testified in that case that Diddy offered to give him some pinky ring worth $40,000 or something, allegedly, if he testified that it was his gun when they found it, when they actually pulled Diddy over. Because remember, when all this stuff happened, Shine got arrested at the club. Diddy and J-Lo they had already peeled rubber and was down the street. So they were Pam, do you think the dropping of the rumor about Prince audio being released in court was done as a distraction? Diamond Pearl Gem, you're gonna have to let me know what you're talking about because I don't know about that. Thank you for the super chat. I haven't heard that. So you have to tell me what you're talking about so I adequately address your question. I don't know here and okay, if both commit the crime together, they both complicit. Said Diddy always. He said more money, more problems. Rumpuskur said Rump Shakur said Diddy's done wrong, but so has she. She betrayed Ryan Leslie, jumped to Diddy the same night, and made Kim Porter's life miserable. Well, at this point, I think nobody wants to hear anything that puts Cassie in a bad light because they feel like the bad outweighs whatever they're trying to say that she did. I looked at it from a different perspective on, yeah, she was with her current husband, but why are everyone's looking at him like the white shining bright armor or whatever, riding in on the white horse, but sounds like he was mistreated. So why is it like it seems like that's okay? She cheated on him, but everybody's just like glossing over that. Literally, you went back to Diddy and was FaceTiming. She remained on drugs, and it wasn't Diddy giving them to her because she remained on drugs till 2022. So she remained on drugs. He was so upset when he found out she slept with Diddy, and I think that's what they're trying to connect. That maybe perhaps she told her husband it was a RAPE, partly because he found out. You know what I'm saying? That she was still messing with Diddy. That may be what they're trying to get at on the defense. I don't know, but you can't tell me she went through all of this and then got with him and then it was just peachy. She wasn't healed. And that's one thing I noticed about Cassie as well. She would jump whenever she never was by herself. So she would find somebody else, like they said, the NFL player. Or let's go to Kid Cudi. You broke up with him, you end up with Kid Cudi, but then you still talk to Kid Cudi on a burner phone. So in your mind, you know you're probably gonna get back with Puff if you get a chance to. So you bring these guys in between, you mess with them, you try to keep it a secret, so you got burner phones and stuff, and then you just get back with Puff. Then it was like another situation. Like there were always situationships that didn't really last that long, and she ended up messing with Puff again. Then it was like, with her husband that she ends up marrying, it was the same thing. Y'all allegedly broke up in August, but then you were with him intimately in September with the FaceTime call or whatever. And then you were there in November to support him when Kim died, but then you decided to leave him alone when you found out he was, I guess, still messing with Gina. And then he said Kim was his soulmate and it hurt your feelings. So it's like, even in between breaks, she never like was by herself. She always has, and she kept it. And apparently he found out about the trainer who she married because he took her phone and ran off with the phone, according to the transcripts. And that was under an alias in her phone. So she would like do it in a, I guess, sneaky way to keep it from him, even though they were allegedly broke up. But it was like she always was going to go back to him. And then she actually would call some of the women, because Gina said she called her and she found out that they were messing with each other when they had been messing with each other for 4 months before Cassie found out. Cassie called her and basically said, you should leave him alone. When she found out about her, like, you should really just leave Puff alone. When she found out about her. So it's just a lot of this stuff just sound like toxic relationships. It really does, and cycles. Because she didn't want to be by herself. But she knew, like, you almost warning other people, this ain't what you want. You don't really want to be with him. So it's like you knew he probably wasn't the person you should be with because you're telling other people this ain't what you want. It's just a lot of, a lot of drama. She never got it. Kim was number one, and unfortunately, she knew that though. So she knew she was number two. Cassie knew that. She said it. She knew you're not even getting holidays. She had a problem with being one of his girlfriends, like she said. That's what she didn't like. So yeah. Yeah. And I feel like you just said, I think they still loved each other. Because I would be on that. I had love for what was. No, I'm really listen, I don't hate him because I'm not willing to, like forgiveness is for me. So I forgive him from that aspect so I could forgive myself for being with this nut all this time. But no, one of the worst parts of my life, like I wish I never met him. That would have been my ending. Not I don't hate him. I mean, but I guess she couldn't say that because she put it in a text that she didn't hate him. And I guess she forgave him or whatever. So I guess in theory she could. She said but that was like 2020. Yeah, I still would have weaseled that in. That was 2020. I'd be like, yeah, in 2020, I just still had a little bit of love for him and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. And I know he was fragile at that time, drug addict, whatever his issues is. I said, but to be perfectly honest, I feel like he wasted all my 20s. He wasted my youth. He wasted my career. And if I could do it all over again, I wish I never was in a relationship with him. I would have got to drop the mic. Like I'm not gonna say I hate him because that's gonna affect me physically, and he doesn't deserve any more of me physically. He doesn't deserve my energy. However, I wish I never met him. But to sit there and kind of be like, no, I love what was or whatever she said. I'm like, mm-mm. Okay, let me get to this. All right, because y'all, we gonna be on and on about this. All right, so what we're doing is we're on redirect from the government. Good afternoon, Miss Ventura. Good afternoon. Miss Gavin, could you please pull up the exhibit that was just on the screen, Defense Exhibit 1016? Could you please publish that for the jury? The court said, we have it now. So Miss Johnson, she is from the government, from the AUSA. Thank you, Miss Gavin. Miss Ventura, do you recall just a moment ago that you were directed to read the message on this page that sent you that says, I don't want to freak off for a last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives. Yes. Miss Gavin, can you please move forward through the rest of the exhibit? I think it's on page 3 of 4. Can you go one more page? One more page. Actually, go back one. Miss Ventura, directing your attention to the blue bubble in the middle of the page, is that message that you sent? Yes. Directing your attention to one that says, yes, I'm horny, just got over a UTI. Is that a message that you sent to Sean? Yes. What did you say below that? I did it without meds this time. And what does Sean respond to you? So what do you want to do? Can you go to the next page now? Miss Gavin, can you please blow up the top 2 blue bubbles? Miss Ventura, can you please read those 2 blue bubbles? I want to see you, but I'm emotional right now. I can't do one last time. I'd rather not at all. What are you referring to in those messages? Freak offs. Thank you. Miss Gavin, you can take that down. Miss Ventura, before I ask you a few more questions, I'm going to admit some exhibits. Okay. Do you recall in our direct examination the drives that you looked at and signed with your initials? Yes. And you reviewed the content on those drives, is that correct? I did. And what, generally speaking, was on those drives? There were messages, photos, videos from devices that I turned into the government, broken devices. Your Honor, just one moment. I need to grab my computer. At this time, the government would offer, and it's a whole slew of exhibits. So they're reviewing all of this slew of exhibits that they want to enter. Miss Ventura, do you recall defense counsel showing you some law enforcement reports documenting interviews with the government on cross-examination? Yes. Before defense counsel showed you those reports, had you ever seen them before? No. Were you ever asked to review those reports? No. Were you ever asked to check those reports for accuracy? No. Do you also recall being asked on cross examination about what messages the government did or did not show you in the meeting you had with the government? Yep. Are you aware of how many thousands of messages were found on your devices, Miss Ventura? Exactly. No. Are you aware of how many thousands of messages there are on other devices in this case? No. So what they're doing on redirect is they're trying to clean up certain things that happened on cross. And one of those things is there was a contradiction in the dates. So she gave different dates, I guess, especially on the alleged RAPE. When she talked to the government and also in her lawsuit, it says September, she was saying is when it happened. Even in her lawsuit, she said that. And that was months before, I guess, she talked to the government. Then when she talked to the government, she went at different times. So she talked to the government on several occasions. But when she talked to them right before her testimony, a few weeks prior to the testimony, she gave a different date. So basically, what the government is establishing is that she did not read the reports for accuracy. So whatever the government, if they had a court reporter or if they wrote it down themselves or whatever, that wasn't something they typed up and said, "Hey, Miss Ventura, why don't you check it for accuracy?" So even if there are some inaccuracies, it wouldn't be because she's being dishonest. It's just because she wasn't told to look at it for accuracy. So they're trying to clean up that portion of the dates not matching. Are you aware of how many thousands of messages and emails that have been received from some of Sean's companies? No. Do you recall yesterday that defense counsel showed you a number of messages between you and Sean where you showed love and affection of each other? Yes. And you were shown more of those messages today. Is that correct? Yes. Throughout your relationship with Sean, were there periods where Sean was kind and loving? Yeah. Did those periods ever last? No. What always ended up happening? Objection. They said grounds and she said not specific. That would be vague. The court said, Miss Johnson, could you rephrase? Sure. Miss Ventura, you just testified that the periods where Sean was kind and loving didn't last. Do you remember that testimony? Yes. And what happened when those periods didn't last? Objection, it's overruled. When those periods wouldn't last, it would just be downswing. Yeah, I don't know how to put that. Can you tell me a little more about what you mean by a downswing? When Sean wasn't happy anymore, it affected everybody around him. Objection, it's sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Next question, Miss Johnson, next question. Miss Ventura, how, if at all, were you affected by Sean's moods? I was pretty affected. How were you affected? I'm about to say, like, are we gonna answer the question? How are we affected? She objected, overruled. I was affected in various ways. Can you repeat it? Sure. You testified that Sean's moods affected you. What were some of the ways that you were affected? I mean, they affected my whole life, my career, how I felt about myself, my self worth. Yeah. How did Sean's moods affect your career? It depended on if he was in the mood to have a freak off. My work would take the back seat. So that would be my career not being paid attention to because I had to do other things. What other things did you have to do? I had to do freak offs. And what kind of preparation did freak offs entail? A lot. Me getting myself ready head to toe, getting the room ready, setting up entertainment. Yeah. So she's saying she did all this stuff herself to get it together. When you say setting up entertainment, what are you referring to? To escorts. Why would the government ask that question? You also said that Sean's mood affected how you felt about yourself. Yeah. Can you tell me how they affected how you felt about yourself? Well, throughout the relationship, I really just like hung on a lot of his words and everything he said, trusted his lifestyle and everything that he was doing. So when he would put me down or make me feel lesser than, I was extra hard on myself. I was already hard on myself as it was. So yeah, there was good, but there was a lot of negative too. Do you recall defense counsel asking you yesterday if Sean opened up your world? Yes. Do you recall responding that it wasn't a yes or a no answer? Yep. Can you explain what you meant by that? To the yes or the no world? Yes. Oh, sorry. Can you repeat what was yesterday? She like, I don't remember what happened yesterday, ma'am. Yesterday, do you recall that defense counsel asked you if Sean opened up your world? Yeah. And you responded, that's not a yes or a no question. Yeah, I think I also might have said, like, it opened up a world. I didn't really describe it. What world did it open up to you, Miss Ventura? To me, I mean, I was led into his world, but I was opened up to a world or just chaos. And with his lifestyle, his choosing and wanting approval, being a part of it, it was a whole other world I didn't know. I didn't understand at the time. It was a lot. What are you saying? Huh? Okay, that was a bit confusing. I think the government should move on with this question. Do you remember when defense counsel showed you a number of explicit texts yesterday that you sent to Sean? Yes. Throughout your entire 11-year relationship with Sean, who did you want to have sex with? I wanted to have sex with just him. Was there anyone else you wanted to have sex with? Not at that time. Miss Gavin, and I apologize for not letting you know about this. Could you pull up, if you are able, Defense Exhibit 1166, which is an evidence? Miss Gavin, would you mind zooming in on those messages? Miss Ventura, do you recall being shown this message yesterday? Yeah, vaguely. I like to direct you to the message. That's the second message from the top. Do you see the message? Yep. It's sent from Sean on August 7, 2009 at 7:52 p.m. Yep. Did you see where Sean says you're supposed to be seducing me all day? Yep. What is your understanding of what Sean is telling you to do? To send him sexy messages and just make him feel excited sexually? How often did Sean give you instructions like seduce me all day? All the time. What did you do in response to those instructions? Sometimes I did it and sometimes I didn't know what to say. When you do it, what kind of messages would you send to Sean? I would talk mainly about freak offs and the things that I knew would actually turn him on. Thank you. You can take that down, Miss Gavin. Miss Ventura, do you recall yesterday that defense counsel asked you questions about your music career? Yes. About your celebrity status? Yes. About your financial status? Yes, I think so. Do you also remember that defense counsel asked you questions about how Sean supported you when you had a bad life performance at the beginning of your career? Yep. What happened to your music career after you started dating Sean Combs? I put out music, but it wasn't the same as when I first started. How was it different? It was different because I had to give him all of my attention and made the choice to listen to him because he was the person that was running everything. When you say you gave him all your attention, who is him? Sean. While you were in a relationship with Sean, who, if anyone, controlled your music career? Sean. How often would Sean direct you to turn down other opportunities in your career? Regularly. Miss Garagos, I know you're still looking at the exhibits, but I did want to offer government exhibit B332. Miss Ventura, who are the participants in this communication? That's me and a person that I work with named Martin Bauer. What was Martin's role? At that time, he was trying to help with management. I had tried a bunch of different people over many years. Management of what? My career, music career. Directing your attention to the first message. I'll read the gray messages and you read the blue messages. Okay. From Martin, is Puff okay with you doing a comment video? I don't know. I'll find out. He'll probably say no. LOL. LOL. Okay. Can we turn to the next page? Just let me know so I can just let me know so I can meet them know either way. I guess it means let me know either way. I'm forwarding the email. He just wanted to hear the song. Yep, I put the song in the email. Hit me back as soon as you can, please. Waiting for Puff to call me back. Oh, okay, cool. Underdogs might want you to come by and listen at 3 o'clock. Puff said no video. Miss Ventura, in your last message where you said Puff said no to vid, what is your understanding of what vid Puff has said no to? The video that Martin asked me if I wanted to do or if I could do? You can take that down, Miss Gavin. Miss Ventura, you mentioned this a few moments ago, but when you were not working on your career while you were dating Sean, what else were you doing? When I wasn't working on my career, I was being his girlfriend. Yeah. And did that involve preparing for and participating in freak offs? Yep. During freak offs, what, if any, work calls did you observe Sean taking? Oh, he took quite a bit of work calls during freak offs. How frequently would he take work calls during freak offs? Every time. During freak offs, how often was your career discussed? A lot. And are you aware if Sean ever canceled meetings or other work obligation for freak offs? Yeah. Are you aware if Sean ever canceled meetings or other work obligations to recover from freak offs? Yes. What was your understanding why Sean could do that? There's an objection. Miss Ventura, were you able to cancel meetings or work obligation for freak offs? If I was told to, what effects, if any, did that have on your career? A lot. I didn't get to do many of the things I wanted to. And why didn't you get to do many of the things you wanted to? Because I had a whole other job. What was that whole other job? It's basically a sex worker. This is what they was looking for right here. Objection, move to strike. The court said motion is granted. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Miss Ventura, when you say you had a whole other job, did that whole other job involve participating in and performing at freak offs? Yep. Miss Ventura, do you recall on cross being asked questions about Sean using drugs during your relationship? Okay, let me just put a pin in it right there. So what the government is trying to do is say, almost like, I guess he was using the freak offs, maybe he was making her do these freak offs so she couldn't work because she was his employee because she was on his label. So he would cancel. She couldn't work because she was required to do these freak offs. So the freak offs took over her doing this work. But I guess and y'all can help me out. How do we differentiate that between you just being his girlfriend and that's what he expected as your girlfriend, as opposed to he's saying do these freak offs or you can't have an album or I'm not going to push your album? Because let's be clear, and I said it before, Diddy has never been one that just consistently put out albums for people. He never has. Like, a lot of Day 26, like I said, Danity, everybody got good at you. He'll get you one good album. He'll blow you up and you have a couple of good years. But as far as like a consistency, it doesn't seem like he had a high turnover of people within there where he would like give you a certain amount, then I'll sell you out. Cause I think he sold Day 26 for some millions to a whole nother label. So how do you differentiate? They're trying to connect that almost like he made her, I guess, do the freak offs in place of her work. I don't know. Okay, TMZ released some emails. Cassie says she wants a big black private start at the work it to the back of her. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Black said, "Hoe is a job." Yes, being there are people that got johns and escorts and prostitution. It's a job. But she said before she did it to make Diddy happy, and she did it to make him happy in the relationship. She didn't do it because, oh, if I don't do this, then he's never gonna release my album. And then like the management portion where they're saying that the manager had to ask Diddy, that's really not uncommon because she was on his label and everything has to clear your label. So I think they're trying to say he was in control, but in theory, he's control of every artist, which is what every label does because they're the ones that front the money. So everything has to go by them. So some of this stuff is getting into the business side of how music works, and they're almost again conflating it with just an average person or relationship or something. I'm just trying to connected to. But anyway, Cassie turned into a willing participant at some point. That's from the Little Gaming channel. Thank you for the super chat. I'm just trying to understand. I'm like, what am I? Misha said it's the Heather Healy song. I wish I wasn't in love with you. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. He never wanted his talent to be more successful. But let's be honest here. Cassie does not have a voice like that. Like Cassie, seemed like a sweet girl. She had that one hit, but a 10 deal album, a 10 album deal, like she wasn't really that great of an artist. And I love Mary J. Blige, but she had a lot of bad performances too because she's just a mediocre singer. Like y'all be good doing praise and worship or being in the choir, but that doesn't necessarily make you be a front person. When you look at like total, it seems like Diddy liked to show that he could make anybody into a star. And I think once he proved that, he just didn't really care after that. That's what it feels like. I ain't trying to put like, you know. It was a bad investment. A lot of artists flop. That's not. Yeah, because some people become tax deductions, or there's a lot of artists that will come out and tell you they got shelved. So if they got shelved, there are artists that did very well, and then they went to some other record label, and then they didn't do well, and they have stories. We see them on Unsung. Like we see these stories all the time. So they're making it like because she wasn't successful. I guess she's saying she would have had all these opportunities, but because she was his girlfriend and he wanted to freak off every week, she couldn't do it. And the recovery time was so much that it affected her career. So it's like, I guess they're trying to put together that she didn't have a career because she was a sex worker and had to do freak offs with him. I guess is the premise. And then, of course, the defense argument is she wasn't a sex worker. She was the girlfriend, and this was a part of their relationship. Tony said you're on point with the arrogance of Diddy. He has the point to prove, but after it's proven, he don't. That's what I feel. That's how I feel. Because let's look at the not just Cassie. Let's look at the historical pattern of Diddy in his artists. Who just has a 20-year career being on Bad Boy and Diddy being the face of everything and allowing them to have that? I think that even making a band, he did what he needed to do to fulfill his obligations that he made with Make MTV. And that was get a band together, offer them an album, show that you could make them go platinum, you could make a star out of anybody. And then after he proved this point, he moved on with his life. But Dakota said, so why didn't he release her and be done with her? Why did she ask to be released? Are they gonna come with evidence that she was trying to get out and he told her over my dead body, I'll release you if you give me a freak off? Because he sure released Aubrey O'Day and them up out their contract real quick. He released all them up out of Danity Kane, was like, bye. He owned the master, so I guess he like, shoot, as the record spin, I get paid anyway. Bye. Mace left. Remember, Mace left from up under him as well. And he was on top when he left. She was good at being his trophy. Yeah. Diamond said control. She his sex toy. That's what she said. She said she didn't want to be his fantasy. She didn't want to just be his fantasy. She wanted something more. If she gonna get this freaky, she want to be able to do it with somebody she knows gonna be her husband. I don't know. Elite Leo said, I remember my cousin telling me that she believed that Faith was a better singer than Mary because of the runs and risks Faith does. I mean, y'all not telling me which artist got like a 15, what, he came out in the 90s maybe, got like a 15, 20-year longevity going on. They still are doing their old songs. Ashanti, of course, ain't on Bad Boys, but she's still singing all her old songs from back then. She ain't got no real album like that. So this is kind of like, it feels like a common practice in the industry. But with Diddy, I just don't recall anybody having multiple platinum records. That's what I'm saying. Artists get old. I understand they get old, but I'm saying your sophomore album. Like, who has sophomore albums that he pushed that ended up getting played like that? And I'm not even, because we're not just talking about Cassie, we talking about other artists. And then with the writings, like, it's a lot of people that was like, oh, I wrote a lot of songs for him and they never came out. That is actually a commonplace too. How do we know it's a commonplace that a lot of people write songs and they don't let any of them out? Because when Prince passed away, there was a big fight on his estate because he had thousands of studio recordings and writings and songs that he never released. Same thing with Tupac. Whole album you can put out after he was deceased because of all the vault of the stuff that he had. People go in the studios and they write and they play around. Some things some things get, shopped around and actually sold, and some things don't. So some of the things they are saying is kind of how the industry is. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's just kind of how it is. C. Scott said, here's the thing, sounded like Judge Whitaker at YSL. Here's the thing. If he never gave her the opportunity to create the 9 albums in the first place, how would we ever know she would have flopped or not? You just proved that he kept her. That's not true. Absolutely not. She had a single that basically did well, Me and You. And she already had that, I think, before him. That was one of the ones that her Ryan Leslie, the one she cheated on him for Diddy. So I don't know. They say she had dope songs. Some of her writers that came out said she had dope songs. But I don't know. I just don't see Diddy. Like, I feel like Diddy abandon a lot of people is how I feel. Just in my opinion. I think he just came out with the songs like, oh, okay, you gonna be the it thing for this for 1999. Then I'm gonna get somebody else for 2000, then somebody else for 2001. But I'm just saying, she had a lot of endorse. She was a model too, though, didn't she? I think she was a model. And she was in movies. She was in Perfect Match. She was in another movie, whatever that movie was with Michael B. Jordan, because she was with Terrence J in The Perfect Match. So she did have a few movies. She did a lot of modeling. She did a lot of hosting. Remember? She did a lot of hosting because it was like she was coming back. There's a couple of interviews that you can see on YouTube, and it was like, well, where were you last night? Oh, I hosted 3 parties. So she did do a lot of hosting. Nelda said, I think the music just didn't work, so they focus on modeling and acting. Bayou Bruja said Cassie was never a great singer, but she was the N type at the time. She was, because they cared about looks more than anything. And if they had to get you to go to get a good singer like a Kelly Price, they just keep you behind the scenes and have somebody else that fit the look be in the video. It's horrible, but that's what they did at that time. Cassie was good until Young Miami and Diddy showed that black love. You think so? You think Young Miami is what caused all this to bubble up in Cassie? King of Hearts was her best song. That one I still bought. I don't even think I know that song. I'm gonna have to look at it when I get off of here. She was still in the hole for it's not uncommon for you to have a hole to have deals and then they shelve you, or they allow you to get out your contract, or they sell you to somebody else. So, but I agree, like 9 albums and you only did one, that's probably gonna sound bad to a jury. So they're gonna have to get somebody to kind of explain and do education on the music industry. Hey, bacon. I hope you like bacon. Y'all think she was jealous of Carisha, please? Yep, Millie Vanilli. And I like their songs too. I was so crushed when I found out they were lip syncing. So you say 112 you think they had a nice career? My tie, 112. What about total? Superstar said 10 albums is ridiculous. Tracy said Rich Dollars was shelving people left and right. A lot of them were. Any of the go, they need to pull up people like Clive Davis, Jimmy Ivy, everybody who was big, not just in the hip hop, on how they operated in the music industry at that time. There were people that got shelved. Baby, our love may have heavily impacted Cassie going to the lawyers. You said LL Cool J had a 10 album deal back then too. All right, Tracy. Give us his history. Cause I don't know if she requested a release from her contract. It's gonna be interesting to see. Tony said he knew her voice couldn't carry 10 albums. He was trying to keep his control. But when he signed her, he wasn't with her though. So he signed her what 2006-ish, I think. I want to say 2006. They didn't get together till around 2009 or something like that. 2008, 9. But when he signed her, she was with Ryan Leslie, and they had a platonic relationship, and that's what she testified to. So why would he be trying to control her with a deal if he wasn't even with her at the time when he signed her? Unless this is a re-signing of a deal. He signed her originally, maybe, are you saying? And then maybe once they became in a relationship, she re-signed the deal. But if you're talking about the original signing, they weren't together at that time. So we can't say the purpose was signing of the deal. Now, the government is going to say, obviously, that they believe that he used the deal over her head to try to make her continuously do things she doesn't want to do. But I think the issue is we just don't know, because she testified she did things to make him happy because she was his girlfriend. So was she doing it because she wanted her album to come out? She only did it because she figured if she didn't do it, then her album wasn't going to come out. Oh, and he told her that? Or did she do it because she wanted to make him happy because that was his girlfriend? Reed, where'd you get this information from? Are you listening to these transcripts? Diddy made her quit her first boyfriend. He started grooming her from day one. She was an addict, so after leaving Diddy, she was still an addict. Where did this information come from? This is Reed saying this. This ain't Pam. Where did this information come from of you saying this? How do you know that he started grooming her from day one? She didn't testify to that. How do you know that she made him quit her first boyfriend when there was testimony in the transcript that he didn't trust her, and he was telling her he didn't trust her and he didn't want to be with her because he felt like she was sneaky or whatever, and she would do sneaky things, and he was still messing with Kim Porter? So I'm just trying to understand, where is this just your opinion, but you saying this as a fact? So what I want you to do is put allegedly, because this is the type of stuff get people, in lawsuits. So that's why I'm saying I ain't saying this. You know what, Moses Tyson, we not doing this. People, man, apparently they are. Elite Leo say he couldn't put Carisha up in hotels for weeks and send her away from Monster Hill. So I don't think he was physically abusing Carisha. She wasn't signing him. She had show dates to make. Carisha said she had an allowance and everything. Sylvia said, I am first time listening. I'm not being rude. I don't feel sorry for Cassie. She used Diddy. She evil, girl. I didn't have nothing for her but prayer. She is crazy. That's from Sylvia, okay? Internationally known said, I think she was playing him because she knew her first album was hard. A lady 747 said, I think Puffy used the music business as a front for illegal operation. That's basically what the government is saying, but I believe Diddy started Bad Boys not for illegal. That I don't. He worked too hard. So when you look at his history, he started out throwing parties. So he's trying to get in the entertainment industry. Started out throwing parties. Then he was working for free as an A&R, for free as an intern. And then what happened is he started getting too big for his britches. And then Andre Harrell was like, you need to go fly on your own. Fly away, Birdie. Do your thing. And so he started Bad Boy. So I believe he really loved music like that. That's why he in everybody videos Harlem Shaking. So I think he did have a legit, but do I think that a lot of record label owners, people in the industry that have the power of your career, do I think they exert that power like people do in a lot of businesses? Yes. Do they know that a lot of people will do anything just to get that opportunity and feel like it's their only shot? Yeah. And do I think these owners know that? Yes. But I think that's a highly weird situation generally. I think that's how Hollywood is. And I think that's how the music industry is. I don't think to that's just confined to Diddy. Cuddy says she doing all this whining about music but cancel her own tour. She don't care about music. Listen, she did a 2 months, what it was 2024. She did a performance. I saw a video on YouTube where she was at some, was it a music fest? She was at something and she performed. But yeah. Anyway, let's get back. We've had our long side note. Miss Ventura, do you recall on Cross being asked questions about Sean using drugs during your relationship? Yes. Do you also recall on cross examination being asked many questions about how successful Sean was? Yes. Do you recall being asked many questions about how successful Sean's businesses were? Yes. Do you recall being asked many questions about Sean's impact? Yes. During that same period where you testified that Sean was using drugs, was Sean also running all of his businesses? Yes. Was Sean taking meetings during the same period? Yep. Meetings for work? Yes. Was Sean taking calls for work during that same period? Yes. Was Sean traveling for work during that same period? Yes. Was Sean making music during that same period? Yes. Was Sean appearing on television during that same period? Yes. And despite doing all those things to your knowledge, was Sean also still using drugs? Yes, to my knowledge. So basically, he was a functioning drug addict. But then it sounds like he was away a lot. So if he was away a lot, how was he monopolizing all her time where she couldn't do anything if he was away a lot? You're saying he's doing all of this stuff and he's always gone and she isn't necessarily with him. So, like, I don't know. Yes, to my knowledge. Miss Ventura, do you recall being asked about breaking up with Sean while you were shooting a movie in South Africa in the fall of 2015? Yes. Yes. Do you remember also being asked about how you blocked contact with him during that time? Yeah. Would you have been able to block contact with Sean if you were not on the other side of the world from him? Objection. That was a bad question. Miss Ventura, would you have been able to block contact with Sean if you were not in South Africa? The question needs to be rephrased or additional questions need to be asked. Despite being far away from Los Angeles, did Sean still contact you during that time? Yes. How did he contact you? I blocked him, but through other people. Who were the other people? Who were the intermediaries? I had one of his assistants was with me, and she was one person, but other people that were around him would try to contact me as well. Who were some of the other people that were around him that would try to contact you, if you remember? I mean, it would be management, security, same people, assistants, whoever was there at that time. When you say management, security, and assistants, are you referring to individuals who work for Sean's businesses? Yes. And I apologize, Miss Ventura, if I missed it, but what was the name of the individual who was with you in South Africa who worked for Sean? Mia. Do you also recall yesterday that you were asked about Sean claiming that he could not remember some of the times when he hurt you? Yep. When Sean claimed that he couldn't remember hurting you, did you believe him? Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. She said no. Hold on. Let me go back. Yesterday, you were asked some questions about Sean claiming he could not remember some of the times when he hurt you. Yeah. When that happened, did you believe him? No, not every time. Why not? Because I tell him. Can you tell me what you mean by that answer? I mean, the difference, he blacked out and I could tell he really blacked out, then I would know that. But I feel like there were times where he was pretty aware of what he was doing. So she's acknowledging, I guess, some of the physical abuse. He was blacked out. So he probably didn't remember when he was abusing her. He was on, that was wild. You were on some tough stuff if you were blacked out like that and you didn't remember. Why did you think he was pretty aware of what he was doing? Because it's just who he is. What do you mean by that? I had seen him be violent with other people, so I knew the difference between I had been around it. I don't know if that makes sense. No, it don't. Mm-mm. Let me try this another way. They like, let me ask you another question in another way. When Sean claimed he couldn't remember, did you think he was manipulating you? There was an objection. The court sustained it. Miss Ventura, do you recall earlier today that you listened to a recording between you and a man named Sugan? Yep. What were you talking about during that recording? We were talking about potentially a sexual video of me that Sugan had seen. And during that conversation with Sugan, how were you feeling during that conversation about the video that was the topic? So allegedly, a recording was played of which Cassie found out there was a video that this person had seen of a freak off or a potential freak off. And in this video, she was like, I'm unalive. Yeah, I ain't never unalive nobody before. And they were showing another side of her. I guess she was on the stand, very soft spoken, of course, very pregnant. And then this video showed I'm from Crenshaw, or I'm from 7 Mile. If you in Detroit type hood, attitude was showing on there. So that's kind of why they played it. So they're trying to get into how she was feeling, knowing that a tape was out there, which anybody would be pissed off. So that's kind of what they're trying to establish. I was just sick about it and was feeling pressure from Sean. So I was going in on Sugan. It was weird. It was a weird day. What did you mean you were feeling pressure by Sean? That's what I want to know. I'm like, he gonna get blamed for everything on here. He was sending me messages too because I shared it with him. Obviously, right away, because we didn't know whether or not it was a freak off video. And yeah, he just texted me quite a bit and called me quite a bit about it. So I felt like I had to handle the situation. When you say he texted and called you quite a bit, are you referring to Sean? Yep. Who, if anyone, was directing you to speak to Sugan? Sean. And who, if anyone, was directing you not to let Sugan out of your sight? Sean. Do you also recall being asked if Sean supported you and not wanting freak off videos to come out? Yes. Do you also recall defense counsel asking you about Sean accusing you of stealing his drugs while you were in Canis? Yes. On the flight home, can you remind the jury what Sean did? He pulled up a video, objection beyond the scope, overruled. So what they're saying beyond the scope, the court overrules it. But when they do redirect, it's supposed to be within the confines of cross-examination. So you're not supposed to ask questions outside of that. But clearly the judge doesn't agree, so he overruled. He pulled up a video that I thought I had deleted out of his computer of me having sex with an escort, and he played it the whole flight home. And where did the flight depart from? From the south of France and landed in New York? While Sean was playing that video for you the whole flight home, what, if anything, did he say? He said he was going to release it to embarrass me. When you landed in New York, what did Sean insist you do later that night? A freak off? What were you afraid would happen if you refused that freak off? That the video would come out or that he would just be really angry? So, this is how they're trying to connect to say that she was forced to do these freak offs and this would be considered like blackmail. So she's saying she only did the freak off because in her mind she felt if she didn't do it that night, he let her know, I got this tape. So if you don't do it, I'm going to release it. That's what she's saying was going on in her head, what she was thinking. Not that he told her that that's what he was going to do. He just said he was going to embarrass her with that video about something totally different. Like this was connected to something totally different, I guess, when he was talking to her. But anyway, he could be violent. He's wait a minute. What happened when Sean was angry? He could be very violent. He could just make you feel horrible. Do you recall being asked some questions yesterday about a weekend in New York with Sean? Specifically, so they pulling up another. Yes, I remember. Do you remember looking at this exhibit yesterday? Yes. Miss Ventura, directing your attention to the bottom set of blue messages. Can you read those, please? Like the last two, or sorry, the last five, starting with okay. Okay. I think it would be a nice switch up for you to come here. Can you come tomorrow early, though? Because I have to leave on Monday afternoon. I can book a show for us to go see tomorrow night. We can be like old times and take our Central Park walks, smoke, drink some wine, and just veg out. I'm sorry if I seem a little out of it. They put our oldest dog to sleep today. Were these the types of suggestions that you made to Sean about how to spend the weekend in New York? Yes. What ended up happening that weekend in New York? Freak off, I would guess. I don't know. So that's a stain. They told him to disregard because she's to a point where she's saying freak off for everything, but she's not even sure if she had freak offs. But that's kind of what the government is trying to get her to do. Almost say whenever she had free time, she would offer movies and Broadway shows and strolls in the park and vegging out on food and whatever. But he would always choose a freak off, and that's what he used her for. So when she said, I don't know, she said a freak off, I would guess. I don't know. She really didn't know if she had a freak off or not, or if they did all those things. So, of course, the judge struck it and told the jury they got to disregard that answer. When Sean said, they pulled up another exhibit. So then they asked another question. When Sean said, you ready for tonight? What did you understand Sean to be communicating to you? Ready for a freak off? He was asking me. When you respond, yes, I just GTA get stuff. What stuff are you referring to? Stuff, supplies for the freak offs and outfits and whatever else. So, what did Sean insist you do instead of doing things like going to the park? Objection. Miss Ventura, what did Sean insist you do instead of your suggestion like going to the park? Object to the characterization. Court said it needed to be rephrased. Miss Ventura, you made suggestions of how you wanted to spend the weekend. Do you recall those? I do. What, if anything, did you do instead? We had a freak off. Whose idea was that? Sean's. What were you afraid would happen if you did not do that freak off? Miss Ventura, do you want me to re-ask the question? I asked you if you didn't do the freak offs on this weekend in New York on October 13th, 2012. What were you afraid would happen? I don't know specifically what I would have been afraid of that weekend. So now they asking questions they don't know the answer to, the government. Then the court said, then that's done. Go to the next question. She don't know. Yesterday, do you recall being asked a number of questions about the side effects of drug use? Yep. Do you also recall being asked questions about a bad batch of drugs yesterday? I do. Did using drugs ever make you get violent? Did using drugs? I feel like drinking more so than drugs. Yeah. Did using drugs ever make you get violent? No. Yesterday, do you recall being shown a number of messages about the time period leading up to the incident at the Intercontinental Hotel? Yeah. So then they pull up another exhibit. Miss Ventura, directing your attention to the message on this page. That's from Sean, right? Yes. And it was from March 5th, 2016. Is that right? Yes. And it says, so what you gonna do so I can plan the rest of the night? Right. Did you recall seeing this message yesterday? Yep. And yesterday, when you were asked multiple times about this question, you responded that "so I can plan my night" was the key phrase of this message. Do you recall your testimony? Yes. What did you mean by that? The "so I can plan the rest of my night" being the key? Yes. This point in 2016, that was just part of the way I understood him. It was a weekly ask, a weekly that "are you going to do? What are we going to do?" It was just kind of common. And so through this text message, what did you understand Sean was communicating to you? He was asking me if we were going to do a freak off that night. What's the plan? And he took it down. They got another message. Miss Ventura, this is another message from Sean on March 5th, 2016. Is that right? Yes. And it says, "What would you want to do?" Yep. In your experience, when Sean said, "What do you want to do?" Objection. The course, like, I don't even know the question yet. Okay. Can we hear the question? Miss Ventura, when Sean said, "What do you want to do?" In your experience, what did that mean? Objection. The court sustained it. When Sean said, "What do you want to do, Miss Ventura?" what was your understanding of what Sean was communicating to you? It's the same question. The court said, "Why don't you re-ask the question and clarify?" Miss Ventura, with respect to this message, what would you want to do sent on March 5th, 2016? What was your understanding of what Sean was communicating to you? He wanted to know if I wanted to do a freak off. And if you did not respond to Sean's message like this by setting up a freak off, objection, the court sustained it. Did you end up having a freak off at the Intercontinental Hotel with Sean on March 5th, 2016? Yes. What did Sean do to you during that freak off? During that freak off in the room, before I left, he hit me. That's what prompted me to leave. So, for those that are saying, so she was trying to leave because he hit her, is what she's saying now. She's not saying she left because I guess she didn't want to do the freak off, but we'll see. Let's go. Where did he hit you? In my eye? And you said that's what prompted you to leave. Did you leave the freak off before it was over? Before he said it was over, yeah. What happened after you left? He followed me into the hallway and tried to bring me back. How did he try to bring you back? He tried to drag me back. And what was he wearing when he was trying to drag you back? A towel and socks. Did you eventually leave the hotel? I did. After Sean tried to drag you back to the freak off and you left the hotel, did you keep hearing from Sean that day? See how they added that after he tried to drag you back to the freak off. So he hit her for whatever reason. She was like, "Not today." She had her Ike and Tina moment. And she was like, she probably went down there listening to the Uber driver, like, "I only got $5 and I promise I'll pay you back." This is for those that seen What's Love Got to Do with It. So she was leaving because she was like, I'm sick of you hitting me and I'm out. So she went to leave out because she was sick of him hitting her. So he chased behind her like abusers do and tried to grab her back to the room. And so how the government is trying to phrase it is he was grabbing her back to the telling her, making her come back to do the freak off, is how they're kind of phrasing it. Even though it wasn't like. And then they asked, did she leave before the freak off was over? And she just said before he said it was over. So I think they're trying to tie this in to say all of this violence we saw in the hallway was him trying to grab her back to go to the freak off because she didn't finish the freak off, is how they're trying to tie this in. So she says after she left, she kept on hearing from him. Did he keep reaching out to you by phone? Yes. By text? Yep. Did he have other staff members reach out to you as well? Yes. And when I say staff members, individuals who work for Sean reached out to you as well? Yes. And so then they're putting up a whole nother exhibit. Can you please read the message, Miss Ventura? When you get FUCK up the wrong way, you always want to show me that you have the power and you knock me around. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's child. You can take that down, Miss Gavin. Miss Gavin, can you pull up for identification for the witnesses and the parties? Only the government exhibit marked A. It's another exhibit. There's no objection. Okay. Miss Ventura, who are the participants in the chat? It's me and Sean. Before we get to the specific message, I'm sorry. Can you please publish this to the jury, Miss Gavin? Can you please go to page 7? Focusing your attention on the top of the bubbles. Miss Ventura, do you recall being asked a number of questions on cross-examination about you sending Sean a message saying, hit me when you can on August 20th, 2018? Yes. What's the exact timestamp of that message? 4:08 p.m. You can take that down. And then they said, let the record reflect that I believe Miss Ventura misspoke. It was really 4:18. And then she said, I think it says 4:08. Okay, it's two messages. They going back and forth on what time it was. Miss Ventura, the first message is that sent on August 20th, 2018 at 4:08 p.m. Yes. And then there's an identical message below it. Is that right? Yep. And that's sent on August 20th, 2018 at 4:13 p.m. Is that right? Yes. Miss Gavin, I want to go back to the page before this. Who are these messages from? They're from Sean. Are these messages sent to you from Sean before the two messages we just looked at? It looks like that. Yep. And was days are these messages sent on? I think it was supposed to be in what days are these messages sent on? August 19th, 2018 and August 20th. What does the first message say? Are you okay? Miss Ventura, were you asked a number of questions this morning about the time Sean RAPE'd you in August of 2018? Yeah. What was going on in your life in August of 2018 around that time? Around that time in August of 2018, I was trying to remove myself from this relationship completely. I have moved around quite a bit in LA, and yeah. Do you have a clear memory of August 2018? Not super clear, but clear enough. Is it fair to say that a lot was going on in your life? A lot, yeah. Do you have any doubt that Sean RAPE'd you? No. They pull up another exhibit. Miss Ventura, can you please read the message in the green bubble on the bottom from Sean? I know I look bad to you. I could tell I didn't turn you on yesterday. I fell off. I'm about to get my ish together. Miss Ventura, a few weeks after Sean RAPE'd you in August 2018, did you have consensual sex with Sean? Yes. And is that when your now husband FaceTime you during that consensual sex act? Yep. So now they're trying to differentiate it. Now they're saying the rape was is August of 2018, even though I guess her lawsuit says it was in September. And one of her first statements says September. Now they're saying it was in August of 2018, and then in September was when her husband FaceTimed her and she missed the call. And when she missed the call, that's supposed to be when it wasn't that she picked up the phone while she was getting it in with Diddy, like people trying to say on the internet. It was she missed the call, and that's what she was doing. And apparently, the now husband found out, was pissed off, and punched a hole in the wall when she told him, I guess, about it, that it happened. So the little gaming. Thank you so much for the super chat. Said the more I hear her testimony, the less I feel sorry for her. Maybe it's just me. I think it's kind of split on the internet right now. But again, we only have 1 week down of testimony. We don't know what else is out there. Yeah, this is what I'm saying is that, like, her lawsuit, I think since September 2018 was when it happened. And then she testified that it wasn't September, it was supposed to be August. Remember, that's supposed to be when she broke up with him in August, but then she slept with him again in September, and she was there for him for Kim Porter's memorial. And she stopped talking to him. I guess after that, she didn't see him again because she was upset because he said that Kim was the soulmate when she passed away. So, yeah. So, I don't have that many questions. I just want to check with Miss Garagos on the status of admitting the exhibits. And so they're checking, they talking. Miss Ventura, do you recall being asked? Um, okay. Miss Ventura, do you recall being asked about your settlement with Sean? Yep. Do you recall defense counsel also asked you just a moment ago about your financial situation in October 2023? Yes. And you mentioned that you had a tour schedule. I did. And you said that the settlement was not the reason you canceled the tour. Correct. Why did you cancel the tour? So now she's about to tell y'all why she canceled. She said it wasn't because she got paid $20 million. She said, after filing my civil suit, I just was overwhelmed. And I couldn't continue doing that at that point. So that's why she canceled. Okay. Y'all think that's a good explanation? Yes, no, maybe. So then they say, what do you mean you were overwhelmed? I mean, I think just addressing the past the way that I chose to, it was just quite overwhelming. And I didn't want to be away from my kids at that time, you know. I just didn't want to go. Do you plan to file any more lawsuits? No. Do you expect to get any money out of testifying at this trial? No. How much money did Sean pay to settle your lawsuit? 20 million? Would you give that money back if it meant you never had to have freak offs? I'd give that money back if it meant I never had to have freak offs. If never had to have freak offs, I would have agency and autonomy, and I would have to work so hard to get it back. And when you say get it back, are you talking about the agency and autonomy that you mentioned? Yeah. Did you remember when defense counsel asked you yesterday if freak offs were a special time that you cherish? Yeah. How would you describe the experience of an escort urinating in your mouth while you were on the floor? Objection sustained. How many times did Sean insist you have a freak off when you still had a UTI? All the time, frequently. And did Sean beat you during freak offs? Yes. Once or more than once? More than once. How did you? Sorry, you could continue. I'm sorry, you can go on. How did you feel during the freak offs when Sean beat you? Worthless, just like dirt. Like I didn't matter to him. But that I was nothing, like absolutely nothing. At the beginning of your relationship, were you open to freak offs? I was open in the very beginning to trying it. Did defense counsel show you a number of messages that reflected some of that openness over the past 2 days? So I guess because they're saying she got beat during the freak offs too. And I think one of the escorts said not during it, like during the actual events, but like in other rooms, he heard it. They're trying to say like she was beat. They're trying to establish that she was beat into basically committing these acts, which would be coercion, which would then be trafficking. So that's what they're trying to establish. 'Cause I think she's the main person on the trafficking aspect. Did that openness change over time? Yeah. And after it changed, did you want to have freak offs? I didn't. Did you feel that you could say no? No. So it's did you feel you could say no? Like she had to do these. Did you try to tell Sean that you did not want to do freak offs? There was an objection. She said, I tried once or more than once. More than once. What were you afraid would happen if you refused the freak off? Miss Ventura, you testified that you told Sean more than once that you did not want to do freak offs. Yeah. What concerns did you have, if any, about saying no to freak offs? I worried for my safety. I worried for my career, but I also was in love with him. So I worried that he wouldn't want to be with me anymore. Like that was part of it too. So she muddied it all up right here. And then they ended with this saying no further questions from their redirect. So basically she's combined it all. She basically said that she felt like if she didn't do freak offs, maybe that would be the end of her career, which honestly she could have probably went someplace else, broke the contract and went someplace else. But she was also in love with him and she wanted to do what made him happy. So now you gave two different reasons for the freak offs. It wasn't just about the career, as what the government is trying to tie in, but it also was, I was worried that he wouldn't want to be with me anymore. So if she didn't do him, she was worried he wouldn't want to be her boyfriend anymore. So she said that. So if there's two different explanations, that is reasonable doubt. If you got two different explanations, if a jury can sit there and say, well, yeah, I can totally see he shelved her stuff, he never gave her an opportunity to do the 9 albums. She said that there were touring and all of this stuff and business opportunities she forfeited, and she felt like he blackmailed her with the videos that he would put it out, which would ruin her entire career if it got put out. I mean, I guess unless you're Kim Kardashian, because it didn't ruin her career, it kind of blew her up. That's where she came from. But she said it would ruin her career and all of that. But then on the other hand, if you're a juror, you have to say, but she said she didn't want it to still be his girlfriend. And so she was willing to do that in order to stay his girlfriend. So is that coercion from the RICO, from the racketeering conspiracy, or is that just a woman trying to do whatever she can to stay with her man? So Puffy is so dumb. He should have hightailed it to Bali with Russell Simmons. How did he not know that this? He knew this was coming. Thank you, superstar Bella. He definitely knew it was coming. They both can be true. Yeah, they can both be true, but if they're both true, then that can also be reasonable doubt. That's what you're basically saying by saying they both can be true. It can be reasonable doubt then, right? Is that manipulation toward Cassie B? I'm sure there was some manipulation. I think in the music industry it's manipulation and they ain't necessarily sleeping with the artists. Look at how many artists from back in that time that had a good experience. I think you can count on one hand. Our major artists out there, you had TLC, remember they came out, they was brokered in a joke. That wasn't a puffy person, that wasn't anybody on Bad Boy. Tony Braxton went through bankruptcy how many times back then? You had a lot of people that came forward and was saying that they really didn't have any money back then. They just got so enamored with being a celebrity that they didn't care about the business side and them actually making money. Mhm. It sure is diamond pearl. People, I don't think they understand how diabolical the music industry is. Sounds like she did whatever she could to stay with him. She said that before. So if she did whatever she could to stay with him, is that basically they're saying Diddy should have known that she was only doing it to be with him, that she really didn't want to do it. So he should be able to read her mind and know that she probably wouldn't want to share her man. But there are some people out here that don't mind sharing their man. I don't know. This is just a lot. Yes, work in progress. Motown era had drugs and alcohol, but never anything like this. Well, I don't know. There was a lot going on. Okay. Barry Gordy was, I don't know what Barry Gordy was out here doing, but we know he was messing with a few of them. There's a few of them he slept with. The music industry might get a RICO. Shoot, the church might get a RICO. You get a RICO. You get a RICO. Shoot, it's pastors out here just as grimy. Were they really in a relationship or a situationship? I honestly, so this is my assessment. I don't know these people, so it's just an opinion. Don't take it as fact. I really think he cared for Cassie because she was willing to do anything for him. But I think he really did feel like Kim was his soulmate. So Kim had boundaries, and that's why she didn't mind leaving him for long periods of time. She let him take care of her. And like there's stories where if he tried to hit her, she was hitting him back. So I think it was something about Kim that he felt he was knitted to, but Cassie was his fantasy and was willing to do whatever and share that with them. And she was his punching bags at times. And the frustration, well, it sounds like a lot of people around him might have been. So I do think he cared for her and he probably did love her, but I think he still was so fixated on Cassie didn't have no boundaries, and I think that's what it was. If she had some boundaries up, then maybe she would have really known he would have had to work for it. She ain't make him work for nothing. He didn't have to work for anything. It was okay. I just want to do whatever you want so I can be your girlfriend. And how many men are really going to turn that down? How many men are that disciplined that they're going to say, I know I don't really, she liked him more than he liked her. So I know she likes me way more than I like her, but I don't want to mess her mind up in her future. So I'm not going to let her cater to my every desire and my every whim. And I'm going to put the boundary up for her. It's not too many men that's going to do it. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. Thank y'all agree. Thank y'all so much for agreeing. I know I'll be a little controversial sometime with some of the thought process, but we're just in the beginning. Child, don't hold me accountable because next week I might be like, yeah, the government, that witness right there. I might flip the whole game next week. Cassie was the epitome of all the females that turned him away when he was younger. Yeah, he definitely got some youth issues, some childhood trauma, and he got some women issue. I think he just has a woman hating spirit on him. She should have got her a boyfriend. That's what she should have got. He was her boyfriend, but she wasn't his girlfriend. Yeah. Well, she was one of his girlfriend. He had a harem, apparently. He used her, she used him. Cassie liked the money and lifestyle, not Diddy. Well, we could look at it that way too. I think some people do look at it. She was willing to endure some of it because she liked the lifestyle. And I think that's kind of where the defense is going. Nelda said, I don't think she's telling the truth about the grape. I think Alex found out and she cried it. The transcript left me with it. That's what I got out of it. I think what ended up happening is she gave certain dates. The FaceTime thing happened in September. And so I think in her lawsuit, she said, let me pull up this lawsuit right quick. So I think in her lawsuit, she might have said that because that's what she said. But then when they got the text message, they was able to corroborate that the FaceTime happened in September. So what they're trying to do is separate August and September so people won't think like that, or the jurors won't think like that. Like, oh, she just told him that because he found out about it. So they're trying to separate August and September as being two different dates. But yeah, that's kind of what it's giving. It's kind of giving that. Let me look at the see if I can find. Let's see. Do a word search. Rape. Yep. September of 2018 is definitely when she said it happened in this lawsuit. Let me pull it up. Um, um oh shoot. How to put I even put it on the screen. Hold on. Hold on. What page is that? I need to pull it up. Hold on. And this is stricken off the docket too, I think. I think they did take it down. Let's see. About to get to the bottom of this. What page was that on? Page 24. Okay. As a result of the immense trauma Miss Ventura endured for over a decade. Hold on. Here you go. By 2007 and 2017 and 2018, this is the lawsuit that was filed. Miss Ventura became desperate to leave Mr. Combs and his abuse of her. She recognized that if she stayed with him, she would never be able to have a successful career or ever be physically and mentally safe. She therefore became determined to completely break away from Mr. Combs and his cycle of abuse and made concerted efforts to avoid him. In September of 2018, she joined Mr. Combs for a dinner at an Italian restaurant in Malibu, California, for what she believed would be a discussion about concluding their relationship for good. After dinner, Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura returned to Miss Ventura's home, which was paid for by Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs forced himself into her apartment and tried to kiss Miss Ventura. She told him to stop and attempted to push him away. Mr. Combs then forcibly pulled off Miss Ventura's clothing and unbuckled her belt. He proceeded to RAPE Miss Ventura while she repeatedly said no and tried to push him away. So she said it was September. What ended up happening was it sounds like they got them phone records, and September was when there was a missed FaceTime from the now husband, and she moved it. Then the rape got moved up to August. So at some point it got moved up to August now, as you guys heard seen from the transcript. So that's like what the defense was pulling out of the different dates that just don't match. So that Mhm. Judge Wood said, Ike and Tina, Bobby and Whitney, CB and Rihanna. That's all. Thank you for the super chat. Yes, did you like and subscribe yet? It's a lot of y'all in here. I don't know how she can remember dates with all. Well, she put it in her pleading, and then because apparently there's, if she knows she went to the restaurant, there's probably like landmarks she remembers, so then she can go back. And it looks like she kept a lot of stuff as well, like text messages and whatever. But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of what they're going with, is the she coming up with all these different dates type things. So let's proceed here. So now we have the recross. The recross. Miss Ventura, picking up on that, you said that you were afraid that if you said no to freak offs, that Mr. Combs wouldn't want to be with you anymore, right? That was a part of it. Objection is overruled. That was part of it, you said. It was part of it. We were in a relationship. They were smart to kind of to try to reiterate that, to try to get it in the jury's head. You knew that Mr. Combs' sexual preference were these freak offs, right? I learned, yeah. And part of being his girlfriend meant participating in these freak offs, right? I don't know that it was a rule, but it was not a rule, but it was his sexual preference. And so you knew that part of being his girlfriend meant doing this sort of thing with him, right? I would say I learned over time. That's what was animating the fear that he would leave you if you didn't do it, right? The part of it we're just talking about. Yeah, sorry. My mind is a little bit all over the place right now. Do you want to take a moment? You can continue. The government brought up Exhibit 1016. Can we bring that up, please? Defense Exhibit 1016. Mr. Combs asked you, want to freak off one last time tonight? And you said, I don't want to freak off for one last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives, right? Yeah, that's what it says. Can we go to the next page? And the next page, you say, yes, I'm horny. Just got over a UTI. I did it without meds this time. And he asked you, what do you want to do, right? Yep. Can we go on? And this is what the government went over with you just now. You said, I'm emotional right now. I can't do one last time, right? That's what government counsel pointed out. You can't do one last time. That's what it says. Yeah. And that's in reference to your earlier text message where you said you can't do one last time, right? The text message, the page before this you're talking about, when you said, I can't do one last time, I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives, right? Yeah. So when you're saying you can't do one last time, you're saying you don't want it to be the last freak off you ever do with him, right? I honestly don't know what I was thinking in 2012. But you did say on the earlier page, I don't want it to be the last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives, right? That's what it says. Yeah. And when the government asked you about certain devices that you turned over to the government in connection with this investigation, and you said that they were broken devices, what did you mean by that? They were no longer working. I couldn't turn them on. And you kept these broken devices for many, many years, right? Yeah. And those are the broken devices. Those are the devices that the government was able to access, right? Correct. And those are the devices that ultimately had the only freak off videos in this case, right? I don't know if it was the only ones. I don't. So she had the freak off videos the whole time? Is that what they say? So how was she? So y'all help me understand. How are you blackmailing somebody, but you the one with the freak out? You had it where you could have told on him. If he was messing with men or what, if something like that was happening, you had the information and you kept a broken device. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to, I never thought that, I never seen that coming. You know what I'm saying? And I know she did say she recorded videos on her phone, which somebody is saying, but she said she deleted them. And her point was she didn't want them, I guess, on there because she was deleting them. So she kept maybe kept it for the hard drive purposes or something. I don't know. And what the defense is alluding is that perhaps when they got all this hard drive from Diddy's places, there weren't any freak offs on none of them. You see what? Because like, why would the defense say? And those are the devices that ultimately had the only freak off videos in this case. So the defense is basically alleging the only freak off videos were the ones in the possession of Cassie, that there weren't any that were found on all of these different devices when they raided his homes. That's what they're inferring by that question. And Sonia said maybe they both had them. I'm going to reread this question one more time, okay? If I reread this question one more time, it says, and those are the devices that ultimately had the only freak off videos in this case. That's what they just said. Okay, let me keep reading because I just kind of threw me off. Maybe it's more information. I don't know if it was the only ones. I don't know. Those devices are the sources of the government exhibits that are the freak off videos in this case. You're familiar with those videos, right? I'm familiar with the videos that came from your devices. That came from my devices. Yeah. Those are the devices that you kept for many years, right? Yes. And those freak off videos were from 2012 and 2014, right? I don't know what year. Suffice it to say that you kept them for over a decade, those devices for over a decade, right? I guess so, despite being broken. Yeah. Government counsel asked you about how this impacted your career and asked about Mr. Combs' ability to continue running his businesses while participating in all these freak offs, right? Yeah. What did you do on your time when you were not doing freak offs? I was recovering from freak offs or I was working in the studio. You were working in the studio on your music? Yeah. And you also were seeing your friends and family occasionally. Yeah. That's what I was saying. When they were saying all the things that he was doing, I'm like, so what was she doing while he was doing all them things? Because clearly they wasn't doing freak offs if he doing all this business while he was on drugs. That's why I didn't understand why the government was laying that out like that. And you were communicating regularly with people in your circle, right? Yeah. And you were communicating with many employees at Bad Boy Records, right? Yeah. The government asked you about Mr. Cohn's ability to continue running his businesses, right? Yes. To your knowledge, many employees for Mr. Combs and Bad Boys understood that he had a major drug problem, right? So they asked him to rephrase. Are you aware of any employees expressing knowledge or concerns about Mr. Combs' drug problems or drinking problems? Yeah. Was it in fact something that was discussed among you and other employees? At certain times, yeah. In fact, many of his employees and staff members had to manage his moods in light of his addiction, right? We all did. Which employees can you recall who discussed this with you, who understood that? Which employees did you discuss this with? D Rock for sure, Mia, Tony, Fletcher. There are probably more. I just don't recall, don't really remember. In fact, it was pretty common knowledge that Mr. Combs had a major drug problem, right? Government counsel also asked you questions about Mr. Combs being hard on you, right? Yeah. But he was, of course, also quite uplifting, right? Yep. And he sent you many uplifting messages over the many years, right? Yeah. And his messages were also conveyed orally, right? Yeah. And when you met with him, sometimes you met when he was in a great mood and he lifted you up, right? Yeah. In fact, most of the time that you were with him, you loved being with him, right? Good amount of the time. Yeah. Government counsel asked you about being led into his world. Do you remember those questions? Yes. And you said it was a world of chaos, right? Uh huh. And it was a world of chaos. You stand by that, right? Pretty crazy. It sounds like it was filled with freak offs and drugs and alcohol and partying, right? Yeah, but I was referring more to other things. But what were you referring to? Oh, I wouldn't have asked that question. It's fast paced. He was a major part of the entertainment industry. Yep. And by being with him, you were able to meet all sorts of other people in the entertainment industry, right? I did meet a lot of people, yeah. And you were able to go to fascinating places and famous events, right? Yep. And you were able to stand by his side at the Met Gala and other premieres and other things like that, right? Yep. And in many ways, being his girlfriend meant that opportunities were available to you in many different ways, right? Couldn't take them all, though. Of course, but you had access to producers and people in the entertainment industry that many other people trying to come up in this business never had, right? Within reason, you were given opportunities in terms of your ability to access contacts in the entertainment industry, sometimes given but earned as well. Certainly. And you also had plenty of studio time, right? A lot of studio time. So he wasn't keeping you from your music with access to sound engineers, right? Yep. And you were given access to all kinds of musical artists, right? Yeah. We talked about how you were put in the studio with Kid Cudi, right? Yep. What other artists were you put in the studio with? What other artists? Nicki Minaj and I did a song together. Wow. I worked with a lot of people. Didn't really transpire, but I worked with a lot of people. What about Lil Wayne? Yes. And you put out a mixtape called Rockabye Baby, right? I did. And you were proud of that. Very. You put a lot of work into that. Uh-huh. And that was released, right? It was released, yeah. So there was a mixtape apparently in between. So he was probably trying to feel people out to see what they were going to do with her and how they were going to brand her. And when your relationship with Mr. Combs ended, you were let out of your contract, right? I was let out. I had to, yeah, fight my way out of the contract, yeah. So that answers the question. She was let out of her contract. You weren't able to break ties with Bad Boy Records. You weren't able to break ties with Bad Boy Records successfully, right? Eventually, yeah. You also had a single with Rick Ross, right? Yes. And Pusha T, right? Yep. Am I missing anyone? You got a lot of people. I'm sure I'll be reminded if I miss someone. You were saying on redirect that you only wanted to have sex with Sean, really? Right? When we were together, yeah. And you participated in the freak offs because you wanted to make him happy, right? Part of the reason, yeah. And you knew that, as I asked you before, you knew that this was the kind of sex that he wanted to have, right? I find out through experience. And you believe that you were special in his life because you were able to give him that, right? Sort of, yeah. Well, you didn't think he was having this kind of sex with anyone else, right? I was hoping not, but I don't know. You, in fact, did hold a special place in his heart, right? I think I did. You believe that today, right? Yeah. My gosh. You said, where is all this music? Maybe they put it out on their albums. You think maybe like Lil Wayne, they had her as a feature or something. But she was in the studio. She did a song with Nicki Minaj. So maybe it was on Nicki Minaj. Let me look this up. Nicki Minaj and Cassie. It's called The Boys. It's Nicki Minaj and Cassie. 2012. Hold on. Let me pull it up. It's called The Boys. And it was in 2012. So she was doing some music apparently. We just ain't know about it. Who else did they say? Lil Wayne. Let me see. Oh, it's Cassie featuring Lil Wayne. That was 15 years ago. It got 44 million views. That was in 2008. Okay. Okay. Cassie featuring Kid Cudi and Akon. That was in 2017, it looks like. Called Day and Night. It's on Spotify. Y'all been sleeping on Cassie. You said people don't listen to her music. You said, what about Pusha T? Okay, let me look that up. Cassie, Pusha T. Pusha T and Cassie song. I don't know. It don't look like nothing gonna come up on that. Oh, here it go. 2017. Cassie, Take Care of Me, Baby, featuring Pusha. Y'all, she got some music out here. Y'all was sleeping on Cassie. She just ain't had them 10. She just ain't get all them 9 albums or whatever out. But it looked like she had mixtapes and singles. Let me see. I remember Love a Loser. I remember that. That was around the time. I think that was in that Perfect Match. Mm-hmm. Must Be Love in 2010. Okay, you learn something new every day. You said she was on a song with Solange too? I'm gonna have to look it up. Okay. Ah. Yeah, Me and You was what everybody know her for. And that was like she came with that. That was what was presented to Bad Boy. So that wasn't even nothing they came up with. Yeah, I ain't think she did anything, but okay, they pulled it out. They said, listen, they sick of y'all saying she ain't have no music coming out. They sick of everybody saying that. All right. So now they said, can we pull up Defense Exhibit 1166, the seducing me all day part? You were asked about this message, Mr. Combs, saying you supposed to be seducing me all day, right? Yes. And you sometimes did that. Yeah. Whatever he wanted. Yeah. When he asked you to do certain things like this, like send him dirty text messages, you did that, right? Yep. In this message, this begins with Mr. Combs saying in the subject line, I'm so horny. And what is your response to that? OMG, I was just about to text you the same thing. LOL. That's before he says you supposed to be seducing me all day, right? Correct. And then you respond to that is LOL. Sorry, I'm nervous. I feel like I want to FUCK, right? Yep. And when you said you're nervous, you were being open about your feelings, right? I think so. I'm not really sure what I'm nervous about in this text. Miss Johnson was asking you about how your music career was affected by participating in these freak offs, right? Right. And it's fair to say that you've always been a little self conscious about your musical talents, right? Yeah, it's kind of like an abbreviated version of, yeah, I'll rephrase your ability to perform under pressure. I'm referring in particular to your performance in 106 in Park. It was one performance in the beginning of my career. I did others. Of course. Did you ever suffer from feelings of self doubt? I did, like anyone would. Yeah. You were in an industry that required really a high level of performance. Of course. Like very demanding and very competitive, right? Yep. You were meeting musical artists in the studio that were famous and the top of the entertainment industry, right? Yeah. Some of the most famous and talented in the country, right? Uh-huh. And you were asked to perform at that level, right? Yes. So it would be natural to assume that feeling of self-doubt probably kick in when you are singing and performing with those kind of artists, right? Miss Johnson asked you about how Mr. Combs was controlling over you, right? Yes. And from your understanding, was he also controlling over other people? Yes. And in fact, he was controlling over lots of other people, right? You understood that he was controlling over his other musical artists under the label, right? Can you ask it again? Were you aware of him being controlling over other artists over on the label? I was aware. See, I told you I'm like they all like that when it comes to their artists. They're the ones coming out of money. They're the ones that are going to take the hit financially. They're not going to just let a manager put out a video or approve. They're going to approve everything before it comes out. They want to approve dang near your outfit. So then they put up another exhibit. This is the government exhibit about the Common video. You remember those? Yes. You recall the specifics of this particular Common video? Specifics meaning more details about the your potential involvement in the Common video. No. So you don't know one way or another whether or not Mr. Combs objection to your involvement in the common video was based on some legitimate concern or not, right? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it could have been one of many concerns. So they're saying like the video that she did that he didn't want her to do, it could have been just a legit concern, like any other record label president would have, like any record label owner. As long as you have, like, just like when you do discrimination cases, you can say, or wrongful termination cases, you can say they fired me because she didn't like my hair. If they come back and they show, well, how about she been late every day for 6 months and she was already on probation, then there's another reasoning as to why you're not going to win that case. So what they're trying to do is come up and say, listen, you don't know if he was being controlling or if it was just a business decision that it wasn't a good idea for you to be in that video. So you don't know why Mr. Combs said no to the common video. She said, I don't know. You don't know why? No. You also released several music videos while you were with Bad Boy Records, right? Yes. How many? I don't know. You'd have to count. I don't know. Several, several. So she said, yes, there were several videos released while she was on Bad Boy. Those were successful. And then they did a brief sidebar. You were also asked by the government counsel about Mr. Combs' ability to continue to successfully running his company as well as being a drug addict. Do you recall those questions? Yes. And were you aware of other members of his staff knowing about his drug use? So they had to rephrase it. Did you have discussions with other members of staff about his drug use? Yeah. And which members of his staff knew about his drug use? I think a lot of people, but I don't know specifically who. And Miss Johnson was asking you about when you were in South Africa and you blocked Mr. Combs, right? Mm-hmm. And she was asking you about other employees of Mr. Combs that were reaching out to you, right? Right. And many of those people you also had independent relationships with, right? Right. For example, D Rock was like a member of your family, right? Like a big brother. You were very close to D Rock. Yeah. In fact, you have had conversations with D Rock that are completely independent of Mr. Combs, right? Yeah. And you knew his wife, April, very well, right? Yes. And the individual Mia, who was his assistant, you also had a friendship with, right? Right. An independent friendship with that has remained to this day, right? It was on and off, but yeah, so she's still friends with some of the people that were a part of his camp. So they're getting at that just because people were reaching out to her while she was in South Africa doesn't mean anything because she had her own relationships with these people. And it outlasted your relationship with Mr. Combs, right? Like I still speak to her, yes. And many other members of Combs' staff were like family to you as well, right? Some people, yeah. And that's why when you broke up with Mr. Combs in the summer of 2015, you sent the video of Mr. Combs and Gina to many members of the staff, right? Right. Because they all betrayed you, right? I was hurt. That's what you felt. Yep. Miss Johnson asked you about whether or not you believed Mr. Combs when he said that he didn't remember what he did when he blacked out. Mm-hmm. But you only didn't believe him some of the time, right? Yeah, they are not like specific memories of when I believed him and when I didn't. Sometimes you did believe him that he blacked out, right? Yeah, sometimes. There were certain times that you assumed that he must have blacked out given how many it was objected to, so then she had to rephrase. There were some times when you believed Mr. Combs when he said he blacked out, right? Yes. Miss Johnson asked you about Mr. Combs ever being violent with people other than you, right? Right. And those were instances of Mr. Combs being violent with people who were not his girlfriend, right? So then it's beyond the scope. Gotta move on. Miss Johnson asked you about the instance when you had a conversation with Sugan, the audio we listened to this morning. Yes. Mr. Combs wasn't there when you recorded that audio, right? I don't believe so. No. He was on the other side of the country, right? California. And he wasn't telling you what to say, right? Not in that specific moment, but before it, he wasn't giving you any specific words to say, right? Not right at that moment, but we spoke before, yeah. And you texted Mr. Combs before that saying, asking if he should take if he should take Sugan hostage, right? I remember that. And you had that conversation with Sugan in the context of your fear that a video would be released, right? Right. And to your knowledge, Mr. Combs also did not want the video released, right? Right. And in fact, Mr. Combs' involvement in these videos is highly embarrassing to him, right? You understood that Mr. Combs would be embarrassed if this video was released, right? We didn't know it was going to be on the video, but yeah, based on your understanding of what was typically on these videos, right? Yeah, because Mr. Combs sometimes appeared himself in these videos, right? Occasionally, yeah, and his involvement could be inferred even if he. So there was an objection. They pull up another exhibit. Mr. Combs asked you, "Are you ready for tonight?" Miss Johnson asked you about this message, and you said, "I knew that he was asking for a freak off, right?" At this point, yeah, based on the message before this and your general understanding about what he wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And in response to that, you said yes, right? Yep. And nowhere here did you say no, right? Right. And here, yeah. Can we go to page 12, please? Mr. Combs sends you an explicit message at the top, and you respond with another explicit message, right? "I'm sorry." You begin the top of the page with an explicit message, right? Yes. And he responds with another explicit message. It's an explicit message, yeah. We don't need to go through all of these. Suffice to say that you were actively participating in the sexting back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. Can we pull up government? They pull up another one. Mr. Combs asks, "So what you gonna do so I can plan the rest of my night?" Right? Right. Miss Johnson asked you about this and you responded that you understood that to mean that he wanted a freak off, right? Right. Can you read again your response at the top of the page? "Baby, I want to FO so bad, but I don't want to F myself up. What am I to do?" Thank you. When he was asking you, "What are you going to do so I can plan my night?" that was a question posed to you, right? Yep. And you responded, "I wanted to FO so bad, but I don't want to F myself up," right? Right. You did not say no in response to this message, right? No. They pull up another message. And government counsel was asking you about the Intercontinental incident, about whether or not you left the freak off early. Do you remember that? Yes. And this message at the bottom suggests that the plan was to have a short freak off, right? Objection. Can you read this message, please? I think if we start at 7 or 8, da 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 da, and end at 4 at the latest. Take a Xanax and or Ambien and go to sleep. We'll be okay. And you rest tomorrow and all day Sunday. You'll be good and drink a lot of water. We'll be good, but we won't have hours to be caught in a matrix. If we do it, I want you to call Garen and see what he has so it can be real, so it can really be a turn on. But if we're going to do something, the sooner the better. You stated that you were feeling overwhelmed after your civil lawsuit, right? Yep. And that's because this has been hard on you, right? Right. You publicized a lot of very private information, right? Right. And you have subjected to a lot of scrutiny, right? Right. And your name has been in the press, right? And it has been hard on Mr. Combs, right? You stated on redirect that you did not have any additional lawsuits other than your suit against Mr. Combs, right? Right. You have recently received a settlement from the Intercontinental Hotel, didn't you? No, you did not. I haven't received a settlement from the Intercontinental. Did you make a demand on the Intercontinental? I did. Did you receive anything in response to that demand? No, I haven't. Do you anticipate receiving some settlement in that case she's being very like specific because she probably hasn't gotten the money yet because it literally just settled a week before. Do you anticipate receiving some settlement in that case or matter? I do. How much do you expect to receive? I don't know the exact number. Can you provide an estimate? I think it would 10 million maybe. And have you reached the end of settlement discussions with the Intercontinental? I have. So you expect to receive 10 million from the Intercontinental? Yeah, thank you. Anything further? Yes, Your Honor. I have one question. I'll read it direct. I'm asking Mr. They're like, we're not talking to you, government. We're not going to keep going back and forth. So she says, I have a couple of more questions. This is still Diddy's attorney. And then they say, it's past 15 minutes. You need to hurry up. So she said, I'll be brief. She pulls up a whole nother exhibit. In response to Mr. Combs' message on August 5th, 2009, when he asked, when do you want to freak off? LOL. What do you say? LOL. I'm just going up to change and put my ring in. I just picked it up. I'm always ready to freak off. LOL. LOL. Can we pull up Defense Exhibit 1409, please? Can we scroll down, please? The next page, next page. Can you highlight the first bubble? Miss Ventura, this is the last thing I'm going to ask you to read. Thank you. She like, please, Lord, I'm over this. Are you ready? I'm ready. Sorry, I needed a second to gather my thoughts. The things you said blew my mind a bit. First, I don't hate you. I never have. I wouldn't be at this beautiful point of my life without having been with you. I definitely think of the same day to sit down and just talk because I know that we need closure and understanding. Thank you so much. So then she says she got three. Then the government said they got three questions. Miss Ventura, to be clear, do you have any pending lawsuits? Pending lawsuits? No. Do you have any financial stake in the outcome of this trial? Absolutely not. And defense, yeah, she already got her money. It's the rest of these people got financial stakes. And defense counsel asked you a number of questions about the broken electronic devices that you kept after your relationship with Sean was over. Yep. Why did you keep those devices? Because I didn't know what was on them. And I feared bringing them to the Apple store and somebody else seeing what was on them, they were broken. When you say you feared that what was on them, what specifically were you worried about being on those devices? Explicit videos? No further questions. And then she says, can I ask just one question? The court said, you just got one more question. This is Diddy's scene. You just reached a settlement with the Intercontinental last week, right? I don't know if it was last week, in the past month, before your testimony today, right? Yeah. Thank you. So that is the conclusion of her testimony. So Lil Rat has been at the court as well. So I don't know if he's going to testify, but he's been there with his attorney, Blackburn. Blackburn also is representing, I guess, one of the escorts that's trying to quash a subpoena. So his attorney is there. You said she would still be messing with him if Kim didn't die. You know what, Zavano? Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? Yeah, thank for it. Always, forever, for life. That I feel it's a 50-50 wins waiting for closing. Well, we haven't even heard much testimony, so we'll see. But yeah, I think it's very interesting. Okay, she got the $10 million settlement from the Intercontinental, so she's out here winning. She got her 30 million. I think it's interesting that all the freak offs that they basically have turned over were on her device that was broken, that was in her possession. That was interesting. You guys see my response on that? I think it's very interesting that she has all of this music that I just didn't know about. So it just obviously it just didn't do well. Or maybe it did and we just don't know. And it just what didn't pop up on my list. But music was out. It just wasn't the albums, I guess, were out. So they still were keeping her, I guess, visible. And then she testified basically that she was still in the studio. So it's going to be a little difficult to try to tie this to her music and her career. Yeah, Lindell, it's a little interesting. I'm going to have to admit. At some point, Cassie became Taraji P. Henson common testify video. If you know, you know. Dickie Leonard said, We all have family members that have boyfriend nobody likes. Okay. So I'm not going to only thing I wanted to go over was Don Richard because she gets back on the stand again. So I want to go over that. Whoever that agent was, looks like they arguing back and forth. So let's see. Yeah, they're arguing. Oh, it probably ain't even much to this transcript then, because they look like they're just arguing. Okay, so this is Agent Binda. So let's see how long his testimony is. Okay, here's their cross of him. So his was about so his wasn't that long. It was like 30 something pages. Okay, let's get to Don Richard. Y'all ready? Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We gonna get to Don Richard from Danity Kane. Good afternoon, Miss Richard. Hello. How old are you? 42. Where are you from? I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. What, if any, musical background did you have growing up in New Orleans, Louisiana? I was a singer and a dancer, and my father was a singer as well. How far did you go in school? I have a bachelor's degree. Directing your attention to the time period from 2004 to 2011, were you working in the music industry at that time? Yes. And who were you working for? Puff, Sean Combs. When you say Puff, were you signed to a particular label? I was signed to Bad Boy Records. Is that a company that was owned by Sean Combs? Yes. Miss Richard, do you see Mr. Combs in the courtroom today? Yes. And I ask that you identify him, please, by an article of clothing, the white or the cream. Do you know Mr. Combs by any other names? I called him Puff. I will refer to him as Puff as well for purposes of clarity. Without getting into any of the details, can you describe at a high level your employment for Puff during that period of time? I was a part of a girl group called Danity Kane. And then the court said, Miss Steiner, let's refer to him as Mr. Combs, please. Like, what you're not gonna do is call him a no nickname in my court. Of course, Your Honor. Not they was gonna call him Puff all the way through. I was part of a girl group, one of five. I was one of five, and I was part of another group called Diddy Dirty Money. During your employment for Mr. Combs, did you meet any of his girlfriends? Yes, I did. And who did you meet? Cassie. Miss Gavin, could you please pull up Exhibit 2A-401? Miss Richard, who is depicted in this here image? That's Cassie. Approximately when did you first meet Cassie? In 2005. Did you continue to see Cassie after meeting her? Yes. And would you see her with Mr. Combs? Yes, I would. Approximately how often? Frequently, all the time. Directing your attention now to 2009, did you observe an incident between Mr. Combs and Cassie? Yes, I did. Can you please describe that? What you observed generally? I observed Cassie being attacked. And when you say that Cassie was attacked, who was she attacked by? She was attacked by Sean Combs. Again, at a high level, what did you observe of that attack? He came down the stairs screaming, belligerent, asking where his food was, and proceeded to hit her over the head and then kick and beat her on the ground in front of us. After that incident, were there any other occasions when you observed Mr. Combs being physically violent with Cassie? Yes. How frequently? Often. We will return to the abuse you observed in a moment. This is Mr. Agnifilo. I'm going to object to the characterization by the prosecutor. The court sustained it. Oh, I can rephrase. We'll return to the topic in a moment, Miss Richard. Before we do, I want to ask you a few questions about your employment for Mr. Combs. You testified earlier that you were a member of a group called Diddy Dirty Money. Can you please describe for the jury what Diddy Dirty Money is? It was an electro soul trio, and it consisted of myself, Kalina Harper, and Sean Combs. So then they pull up another exhibit. Miss Richard, do you recognize this image? Yes, I do. Generally, what does it depict? It's Diddy Dirty Money. Is it fair and accurate depiction of the members of Diddy Dirty Money? Yes. The government offers government exhibit 9M105. Miss Richard, can you please describe who is depicted in this image? Let's pull up this image. What's Diddy Dirty Money? Let's put it up. Okay. This is Diddy Dirty Money for those that don't know. See them right there? That's them right there on Spotify. They got a few little hits there. Let's see. All right. So they pull up the picture. Okay. Thank you so much for the super chat. Cassie Sexton D right behind Diddy back is huh? Where you get that from? I ain't see that. Wayne 704. Sassy E said, mad at myself for following up Pam looking up that girl's music. All trash. That's why we only know me. Don't blame me. We just do research over here. She said she had more albums, and so we looked up the songs. That's not my fault. We're just trying to make sure we're thorough in our investigations. You said it's in the last bit of. I ain't see that. She was sexting Diddy. I don't think she was sexting D-Rock, but okay. Let's continue. So on the right is Kalina Harper, and on the left is myself, and in the center is Mr. Combs. Okay, Sean Combs. Are those who are the members of Diddy Dirty Money? Yes. Approximately when were you a member of this group? Through 2009 to 2011. Miss Gavin, please take that down. Take that down. When you were a member of the group Diddy Dirty Money, was Mr. Combs your boss? Oh, yes, he was. How frequently did you interact with Mr. Combs? Frequently. And generally, where did you work when you were a member of Diddy Dirty Money? It varied. It could be the studio, it could be his home, and it could be in hotels as well. Where did Mr. Combs have homes or residence at that time? Los Angeles, New York, and Miami. You testified earlier about an incident that occurred in 2009 between Mr. Combs and Cassie. Do you recall that, Miss Richard? I do. Where did that incident take place? In his LA home. And when you say he, are you referring to Mr. Combs, Sean Combs? So they put up another exhibit. Miss Richard, do you recognize this image? I do. What is this image of? This is Sean Combs' LA home. At the time of this incident in 2009, why were you in Mr. Combs' residence? Oh, we were recording. And when you say we, who are you referring to? Kalina Harper and myself. Where in the home generally were you recording? At the bottom, lower level, he has a studio. Sean Combs has a studio at the bottom. Approximately what time of day were you in the residence? It was nighttime. And at that time, and at the time that you were there for purposes of recording, was Cassie in the house? She was. Where was she located? In the kitchen on the second floor. Where were you located when Cassie was in the kitchen? Kalina and I were in the kitchen with her. So then they take it down. Miss Richard, what if anything was Cassie doing in the kitchen? She was cooking breakfast. She was cooling eggs. And you said she was cooking breakfast. Was she doing that at night? At night? Yeah, just to be clear. And where was Mr. Combs at that time? Oh, he was at the top level, the floor above us. What did you observe Mr. Combs do? He came downstairs angry and was saying, where the F was his eggs? Excuse my language. And he was telling Cassie that she never gets anything right. Where the F is his food? And he proceeded to come over to her and took the skillet with the eggs in it and tried to hit her over the head with it. And she fell to the ground. He was definitely an abuser. Like, bro. Let me ask you a couple of questions about that. You testified that Mr. Combs grabbed a skillet of eggs, correct? Correct. Can you describe the skillet? It was black skillet, just something you would cook eggs in, a flat pan. I'd have looked at her like, are you serious with that question? Can you describe the material? Like, I don't know, a regular pan, a skillet that you would see at the store? I don't. And you said that he attempted to hit her. Is that correct? Correct. Where did he attempt to hit her with the skillet? Over the head. And you testified also that Cassie dropped to the ground. Is that correct? She fell to the ground. So did the skillet hit her? It didn't seem that it hit her fully. It seemed like she was anticipating it by going down. When you just said that Cassie dropped to the ground, can you describe specifically what she did? She went in the fetal position. You could see she was literally trying to hide her face or her head. Did you see Cassie respond with any physical force? No. Based on your observation of Cassie's reaction, so falling to the ground and going into the fetal position, what, if any, understanding did you have? I'm going to object to the form of the question. So the court said, can you rephrase? Of course, Your Honor. Ms. Richard, you testified a moment ago that Cassie dropped to the ground. Is that correct? Correct. And assumed the fetal position. She did. Is that correct? That's correct. Did you have any understanding about why she did that? Objection, Judge. How did Cassie react? She fell to the ground into fetal position, and it seemed like she was doing it. I'm going to object to the answer is not responsive. That's overruled. You can answer, Miss Richard. It seemed as if she was doing it as if it was something she did often. Yeah, that was pretty speculative. I'm going to object to that as non-responsive and move to strike. That is granted. Good ruling, Judge. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Miss Richard, what happened after Cassie dropped to the ground in the fetal position? He started to punch her and kick her. And again, when you say he, who are you referring to? Sean Combs. Where was Mr. Combs kicking and punching Cassie? Her body and her head. After you observed Mr. Combs kicking and punching Cassie on the ground, what did you observe next? He proceeded to take his arm around her neck and put his hand in her hair and dragged her upstairs in the first floor. So it sounds like what we seen in that video in the hallway. He did it in the house, is what she's testifying to. What, if anything, did you hear from upstairs? Glass breaking and yelling. Miss Richard, how did you react to seeing and hearing this? I was scared for her and scared to do anything in fear of what that might mean for me, too. Miss Richard, when you say you were scared of doing anything, did you intervene between Mr. Combs and Cassie? No. Did you call for law enforcement assistance? No. Why not? I had never seen anything like that before, and I didn't know what that would mean. I was scared of what that might mean for myself. Can you explain what you mean by that? He was punching his girlfriend. He was beating her up in front of us. And I was scared. And if I intervened or did anything, that it might get worse. What, if anything, were you directed to do the next day? Sean Combs called us to come in and record. When you say we, Who are you referring to? Oh, Kalina and myself. Did you follow Mr. Combs' instructions? I did. What did Mr. Combs do once you and Kalina Harper arrived at his residence? He brought us into the recording studio and locked the door. What, if anything, did Mr. Combs tell you and Kalina in the locked recording studio? He said that what we saw was a passion and what lovers in relationships do. He said that she was okay and that it would be in our best interest if we didn't say anything. He was trying to take us to the top, and that where he comes from, people go missing if they say things like that, like if people talk. And then he gave us flowers. Flowers. What? When Mr. Combs told you that people can end up missing, what did you understand him to be meaning? That people could die, death. I don't know. It just seemed Cassie. So there's an objection and a move to strike. Okay, so they got a sidebar. Oh, wow. So in the sidebar, the court asked, what's the objection? And Mr. Agnifilo said, first of all, I think this is getting into forbidden territory. This is part of the forced labor Your Honor ruled they could not get into. There's no other relevance to what's going on in the recording studio other than that. So I think, first of all, it runs afoul to the court's ruling and it's unduly prejudicial. It's not relevant to any of the charges. So then the government says, Your Honor, this is describing the witness's mental state in response to a threat made to her directly by the defendant. It's an act of attempted obstruction. And as she's going to continue to testify, threats such as this were always in the back of her mind when she was observing this by the defendant, and was a primary reason why she did not take other action in response to what she observed. It's also directly relevant to what's been alleged in the government's indictment about the way the defendant would make use of threats in response to individuals attempting to intervene with his conduct. So they going back and forth, okay? So they're going, so that was the end of her stuff, because they basically telling the members of the jury they gonna sit there and they're gonna work through this stuff and they're gonna get it together on their own. But I gotta show y'all something. I was just perusing, and I was like, I remember some stuff with Don Richard, especially when she was on the Love album, and she also was gonna be a part when they brought back, and this was the problem I had with the lawsuit. It was kind of like, why were you trying to do another Making with the Band if you're saying you had this horrible experience working with him? Why would you even want to be a part of anything where he would potentially do that to other people? I just had a problem with that and thought it was selfish. But then I heard this. Hold on.
Independent, do you talk to Diddy?
Not as often as I'd like, but that's the homie forever.
Yeah.
People will never understand that relationship. You know, like, people didn't know that Puff had bought me out of a contract prior to even getting on the show.
Really?
So I had loyalty to that, you know, and that's a respect that I understand that I loved my group, and I know that it wasn't I chose Puff over my group at the time. It was more of, when someone does that, where I come from, you got to respect that on a large level. So I gave loyalty to him, and I think I'll never forget that. And my father and my mother, for what we gone through, we'll never forget that. And I think with all his crazy, I look at things like that as loyalty. So I was loyal to him, and I paid my dues back like a businesswoman should.
Right.
Until he said, okay, your dues are paid. And then I left. Not, I'm going to leave you after you did me something.
And then just...
And a solid. And they say, oh, by the way, thank you for buying out my contract, but now I'm going to go over here. I just never said anything about that.
That contract.
And I never told anybody. I took all the hate that came with it, that people thought I had didn't choose my group. I just took it. Because it's a loyalty thing for me. It's a respect.
Absolutely.
You know, and I didn't want to get shelved. I didn't want to get financially and business wise. It just wasn't smart.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pay my dues, so I did, and I always respect him for that.
Yeah. Wow, that's nice. What's the best advice he's ever given you? I'm sure there's a bunch.
He don't give advice. Puff is smart. He does it in his actions. He never sleeps. He has people always around him, and he pays attention to the pulse. He's a marketing man.
Yeah.
More than anything. And he's blessed with an ear. That's two very powerful things.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you're smart, you don't take advice, you pay attention. So I just paid attention, and that's it. It wasn't all perfect. It wasn't all great.
Yeah.
He's exactly what people say he is, but he's also, he gave me a shot. I don't have the story that you have. I have I got out alive.
Yeah.
And I got out with a business, and I don't have no bad stories. That was only support. So,
So from the business standpoint, she's saying she don't have no bad stories. I just thought it was interesting. I'm like, these clips to be online or whatever. So it sounds like even before making a band, even though she said she had a business relationship with him in 2004, it sounds like she was already in a record contract, and they probably wasn't going to let her get on there to do making a band because she was in that contract to be a part of another band. And he wanted her, I guess, to that level, or thought she was talented, and bought her out of her contract so that she could be on making the band. So she felt like she had to have a loyalty to him, because so even when the group broke up, because we know Aubrey, he was like, you can go. I heard you was unhappy too. You didn't know what you really wanted to do, and you was unhappy with the group too. You can go too. That's how he was doing on that show. He was like, that was like the first apprentice. Okay, you're fired. And she stayed there, and they gave her hate because it was like she was the only one that Diddy still worked with. And then he went and got the other young lady, and then they did the dirty money. And again, what we look up about 5, it was what? Let me see how many songs. Another example how he don't do a whole lot of nothing with any group. 10 songs over here on Spotify. That hello, good morning. And this got the remix. A lot of this got remixes or whatever. So you got 10 songs. The Last Train to Paris was the album. So that's why I was saying, like, he don't give a whole lot of people don't have very many albums when they mess with him. Yeah, I heard that the protesters are getting paid $20 an hour to do the free Diddy, but I don't know where the money comes from. Like, is it coming from like a Diddy? Is it a fan club or something? I wasn't clear on that, but Brooklyn said, I don't think Diddy let them out of any contract. What happened was when he was getting hit with lawsuits, he was forced to sell their masters that released the contract. So what ended up happening is, I think Diddy seen some things coming. So when he went on the whole love, and this is love, when he went on that whole love fest thing, he basically was trying to get people to sign NDAs. And I guess according to Aubrey O'Day, that they could get out of their they were able to get their masters back, I think. And he was going to give it back to them, but they had to sign NDAs. So I don't think I don't think Aubrey signed hers according to her. So yeah. Y'all really think that girl stayed 10 years on being mistreated? If you cheat on me, I'm paying all your bills, giving you the best life on. Now, one of the things that Shine said is, Shine, when he did his documentary, one of the things that pissed him off was he said that when Diddy would beat her up, he would take her out on shopping sprees. And allegedly, according to Shine, not Pam, allegedly, I guess it was a situation of which something happened and they was in Paris or they was somewhere, and he spent $500,000 on Cassie in one day. So yeah, she was living quite large. He was doing for her. So he like blew $500,000 on her, I guess, when they had some fight, or maybe it was a physical altercation. And then he gave Shine like 50,000. That was part of why he was pissed over that 50,000. Like, bro, you gonna give me 50,000? I had to sit in prison for almost 10 years, and I don't watch you blow a $500,000 just on GP on your girl. So that was part of what Shine's festivity was about. Um, what Aubrey is saying is correct. I have a friend that was offered the same contract a year prior to the public finding out the stories match up. Okay, thank you for letting us know. Kevin said he claims that he runs everything and owns nothing to prevent losing money from lawsuits. That could be it too. So they can't directly come after him as long as there's separation between. The only way you do what's called piercing the corporate veil is if you find that companies and people are one and the same. So if you legally have them separated, then you can't. If you got an issue with the person, it's just gonna come after the person. If they ain't got no money in their name, you ain't getting nothing. But if you can find that really you there's really no difference between your businesses and you, then you can do what's called pierce the corporate veil, and you can take whatever's in the business as well. So in order for that to happen, that's why they come after the businesses and the individuals, because typically the businesses have the bigger pockets and they have insurance. Gifty says she stayed because of the goodies. That may have been part of what she said, that she did the freak offs because she loved him and she knew that if she didn't want to do him, he probably wouldn't want to be with her. And she was willing to do whatever she needed to do to stay with him. So she was a ride or die. And he said that in the last text that they had in 2020, she was a ride or die. And I think that's what he liked about her. She was a ride or die. She was willing to do anything for him. So basically, she didn't have much boundaries for herself, and he took advantage of that. And I think though that if he had with Kim, some people said, well, he never married her. Kim might not have wanted to marry him. She knew who he was. What make y'all think Kim wanted to marry him? Hmm. I'll wait. Somebody told me that Donna's unrecognizable now. She looks so different from when she was on Making a Band. Somebody told me that as well. They had pictures, and I did see she was walking through trying. I guess she was told don't look at anybody. She was looking. She was walking through like how Alex Fine was walking through. Like, I can't see you. I can't see you. I can't see you. Just walking straight through, looking straight ahead. After the Cassie testimony, the agent who testified was found in the room, was arrested. It proves he was still very much addicted to FOs and had not stopped. Well, that's your interpretation of what it proves. I think that it could show was other people that was there. And that don't necessarily mean he did a FO. He could have just been having sexual intercourse. It could have meant that too. They don't know. Do they got cameras of escorts coming up the stairs? It was a hotel where he was staying, so anybody could have been photographed. They know what room they were going to. I think that's an assumption. But I know that's what they were trying to prove with them being on the stand. I think that's what they were trying to show. Oh, okay. You saw her when she came into the courthouse. So you down there, girls, what's the tea? You down there getting all the Diddy tea? Huh? You down there getting all the Diddy tea? You need to be reporting back so we can know the tea. You know what I'm saying? You want to know what people look like and what they got on and what their demeanors are. Just me said I don't see Cassie or well, we haven't finished Don's testimony, but part of the problem with Don is what is she really testifying to? She's solidifying some physical abuse, but I think that was already established and he's actually admitted it. Like he admitted that he was beating her up. There's no way he can deny it at this point. You got to admit what you can't deny. So, all right, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed the live. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. What I'll probably do if I do the agents one, if my members want me to do it, then I'll do it in the membership, but I'm not going to do it out here because I think this video is long enough. It is 3 hours, honey. So that's it. Why you say that, Wayne? Huh? Why you say that? That I'm pro defense. Why would you say that? I'm pro justice. I do wrongful conviction, so I'm very methodical and I weigh both sides. Why, Pam? Because there are 10% of people in this here United States of America that are incarcerated that have been wrongfully convicted. So yes, I'm very hard, whether how egregious it looks, how bad it looks, egregious the crime may look, what the allegations are, where I look at both sides. And because I think one of the most clearest injustices that can never be rectified with money or anything is to have a client, which I've had, that does 20, 30, 40 years in prison for a crime they didn't commit. And then you're able to prove that, and all they can do is you can sue them to get money. They fight for you to get the money. And then when you get it, it still doesn't take away the fact that you were 17, 18, 19 years old and you spent your entire prime of your life in prison for something you didn't do. So yes, even though I've had crimes that I feel happened to me, I've had family members that have crimes that happen to them. And some things are very, very egregious. However, I'm still very methodical to make sure that you prove your case. And I'm going to make sure that I hold you to that beyond a reasonable doubt. Because like I said, one of the worst egregious things that can happen is somebody be locked up in a cage for something they didn't commit. So no, am I pro defense? No, I'm pro fair. I'm pro justice. All right. That's it. And on that note, no, I'm not a defense attorney. I was a defense attorney. I've never done prosecution work. I was a defense attorney and I'll do post-conviction work. So from that end, I do represent defendants after the trial at this point in my life. But fair is fair. And I do believe that you should prove your case because somebody's life is on the line, literally. People die in prison. Your loved one, imagine going to prison for something you did not do and you miss the whole lives. Your parents die while you're in there. Your grandma died while you're in there. Your best friends die while you're in there. And it was something that you never had done in the first place. I think that is the most injustice. People don't care about it as much as I do, apparently, and some other people. But I think it's one of the greatest injustices that gets swept under the rug. So I have totally switched what I do almost from that aspect where I try to help people that have been wrongfully convicted. And because of that, I make sure I scrutinize everything and everybody. That's just all you're saying. But at the end of the day, if they prove all of the elements and he did it, he did it. I am not naive to the fact to think nobody should go to prison. That ain't what I think. I do think some people deserve to be locked up. I think some people are psychopaths and sociopaths. I believe all of that. But I believe you need to make sure you got the right one. That's all. And that is my soapbox for the day. So that's it. So you guys have a wonderful night. I hope I got all my super chats. I think I did. Yeah, I got all of those. Thank you guys again for the super chats. Let me see if I got any cash apps to thank before I get up off this piece. Hope, thank you so very much for the cash app. I appreciate it. I really do. So, anyway. Oh, she texted me real early. She probably gone off the library. Okay. All right, y'all. You guys have a great night, and we'll be back tomorrow. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see what tomorrow brings. I hope you guys enjoyed the live. Let me know by commenting or hitting the like button and subscribing. And you guys have a fabulous night.